cast her to faint with relief. That was my object. I had to find out what her reaction would be.
Here, Ned. You and Mary help Lady Ashley up to her room. Put her to bed.
Keep her quiet. A cup of hot tea will do her no harm when she comes round.
Now, gentlemen, if you'll excuse me.
I'm sorry, Sir Hubert, but I must ask you to remain here with us for a few moments.
Well, I don't understand.
Sir Hubert, Lady Ashley's reaction to the news of Drenko's death was a good deal more pronounced than might be expected in the circumstances.
I haven't the faintest idea what you're trying to insinuate.
I insinuate nothing. I merely state facts. Would you prefer that I question her, or will you tell me what lies in back of all this?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. I should like to spare my wife as much as possible.
My only interest is in any light that she might be able to shed on the matter.
Cynthia is a very young and very beautiful woman. Before we were married, she had, well, how shall I put it, fallen under the spell of this man, Drenko. I asked her no questions, but I know that he continued to have some strange hold over her. I had the impression that she hated seeing him and that he was forcing his presence on her on those occasions when he was a guest in my house.
Yes, I still don't believe anyone killed the fellow, but if someone did, it sounds like a good riddance.
Unfortunately, Watson, we are not concerned with the equities of the murder, but with its solution. Thank you, Sir Hubert. You've been extremely helpful.
Well, justice must be done, Mr. Holmes. But if ever I wished that your great powers might fail, it is now. I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that I'm infinitely grateful to the murder of that swine Drenko.
I say, Holmes, will you join me in a cup of tea?
No tea, thanks. I'm rather trusting to the inspiration of music to assist me in resolving some of the more puzzling features of this case.
Well, at least you can't complain of a scarcity of suspects. First of all, Sir Hubert, for obvious reasons. Possibly Lady Ashley. Great Scott, Holmes.
What's the matter? Tea too hot?
No, but have you thought of the possibility that Frou-Frou might have killed Drenko? After all, she might have been madly in love with him.
The possibility had occurred to me, but I discarded it.
Oh, started it. Achoo! Look at this glass here on the table. Positively vibrating from that high note.
A not uncommon phenomenon. As you must know, certain objects vibrate in harmony with certain notes. Watson, get your coat. We promised to pay a visit to Marivaux's shop. I think this would be an ideal time to discharge that obligation.
Dingy little place, I must say. Founded 1821, huh? Looks as though they hadn't washed the windows since.
But full of priceless treasures. As Marlowe said, infinite riches in a little room.
I say, where's Marivaux? I don't like the look of that customer over there, the one with that bushy back beard and theatrical cloak. He looks like one of those bomb-throwing fellows. What you call them, nihilists.
You must remember, Watson, that music appeals to oddly assorted people.
Well, of course there is.
Professor Moriarty, after all, knows no peer in his interpretation of certain of the Bach fugues.
Well, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. Or is this other gentleman waiting? No, I'm in no hurry.
It's no wonder the fame of your shop is worldwide, Monsieur Marivaux. I see you have some remarkable instruments.
You see about you the fruits of a lifetime of devotion to the violin. I must confess, Mr. Holmes, that it pains me every time I sell one of my treasures.
I can well believe it.
And have you made any further progress toward a solution of Drenko's death?
I feel safe in saying that my investigation has gleaned a few pertinent facts.
Would it be indiscreet for me to ask what they are?
Not at all. You yourself were present when I made the curious discovery regarding Drenko's violin being out of tune. And only a short time ago, while I happened to be playing my violin, Dr. Watson made a remark which threw further light on the case. Didn't you, Watson?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course.
I don't know what kind of a violin you possess, Mr. Holmes, but I'm sure you'll appreciate one magnificent example that I'd like you to try. A Guarnerius, the equal of any Strad I've ever seen.
I'm afraid it would be far beyond the reach of my poise.
But you at least owe yourself the pleasure, the great experience of playing it. Here it is. Isn't it beautiful?
Exquisite. If the tone's as mellow as that varnish.
But of course. Why don't you take it into my private office and try it? No one will disturb you here.
Thank you. I've never had the good fortune to test the Guarnerians.
Dr. Watson, while Monsieur Holmes is amusing himself, perhaps you'd be interested in one of these balls.
Those? Oh, yes, yes. Horsehair things, you know.
There's more to it than that. There is only one family in all Italy, Dr. Watson, that possesses the great secret of making a ball like this one.
Yes, it's all very fascinating, Mr. Marivaux, but Holmes must have made up his mind if he likes that fiddle by now. And I know he wants to ask you some questions. He told me that... good heavens, what on earth... He's lying on the floor. He must have fainted. Holmes!
I'm afraid he's dead. Quick, Dr. Watson, go for the police.
And give you a chance to plant a bottle of cyanide by my side? Oh, no. Stay here and listen to Marivaux confess how he murdered Drenko. You're alive? No.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing me.
You gave me, and then played one of the others here to lure you in.
He killed Drenko? Suicide note.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary.
Yes, that it was torn from the end of a
Hope you're doing good, Evaporate.
and which he couldn't endure any longer.
Hope everything's going good.
Drenko when he died.
Marivaux had left a very oddly constructed
What?
violin with Drenko.
Why do you say it like that, Evaporate?
Drenko's habit.
Why am I so hot? You know, maybe because it's like, what, 80 something did out there? Let's see.
Lethal gas which is identical in odor and effects with the cyanide.
Good heavens.
Yeah, it's 81 over here, man.
Extremely thin glass vial cracked under the impact of the sympathetic
Evaporate, it's hot outside.
through the F-holes in the vial.
What am I supposed to say?
Drenko when he discovered the corpse.
Precisely, Watson. He merely left that one by the body, planted the note, and carried off the fatal weapon and all proof of the crime in his now empty case. He made only one error. He neglected it until he left.
Amazing.
I woke up a little bit. I would have loved to sleep a little bit longer, but you can't sleep your life away. You gotta work.
I prefer to spare Lady Ashley the ordeal, Marivaux, but I have no doubt that it was in you she confided that Drenko had been blackmailing her on the strength of their earlier romance.
But to convict a man of murder, you need something more than words. You need proof.
You seem to be overlooking this dissected violin on your desk, with which you attempted to murder me. I fancy that the sample of your handiwork with the vial of gas affixed thererein will offer ample proof.
You'll never send me to the guillotine. I'll kill myself first. But I'm going to take you with
Drop
me.
that vial, Marivaux.
Precisely what I intend to do. Drop it and release the fumes. They will put a speedy end to all three of us. I've got your Miss Marivaux. Give me that vial if you don't want a broken arm. There. Much better.
Good heavens, it's an nihilist. I mean, Inspector Bernard.
As you noticed when you commented on his beard and cloak, Watson, the inspector's tastes in disguise are a trifle flamboyant.
And now, Monsieur Holmes, I must extend my thanks to you on behalf of the Sûreté.
Not at all, Inspector. Your promptness in acting in response to my
I'm
message
just
has
trying to
saved
see-
Watson's life and mine. Thank you.
Oh, no, Monsieur Holmes.
Did I get the
thank
right color?
Oh, well, have it your way, Inspector.
you. And now, Marivaux, come along.
I feel like I got the right color now.
Too close to ship.
There we go.
I say, that fellow Marivaux was very ingenious.
Quite. You know, Watson, I have one bitter regret concerning this case.
Regret?
I find that I have, despite all my protests, ended by acting for Drenko without a fee after all.
I mean, I would love to sleep a little bit more, get a little tiny bit more sleep, but in all honesty, I don't need it.
In a moment, Dr. Watson will tell us something about next week's story. But first, girls, some of the most beautiful women in the world are Powers models. And one of their outstanding characteristics is their shining, bright hair. Now, here's how they keep it shining.
Powers models use Kreml shampoo. This amazing beautifying shampoo has been
Oh,
specially
shit.
developed to actually glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair, revealing all its natural glossy luster.
My wife says Kreml shampoo is wonderful for washing children's hair. How about that?
Oh, yes, it would be, because there are no harsh caustics or chemicals in Kreml shampoo, and its luxurious active foam penetrates right to the scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
Girls, if you could only see how Powers model's hair fairly radiates glossy highlights, I'm sure you'd want to try Kreml shampoo right away. You can get a bottle at any drug counter. Kreml. Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about...
Yeah, some coffee.
Tell you about the adventure of the Sally Martin.
The The Sally Martin?
One streamer said the best way to get you started
Holmes and I entered the case when her owner was found lying.
is to just, actually make a cup of coffee, make your bed, and then do something. Because you'll feel like you actually want to do stuff after that.
Sherlock Holmes' adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Illustrious Client. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures, Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will
Evaporate.
talk about the adventure.
I don't know if that's gonna happen, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
ABC.
You seem like a fun guy. But I'm sorry. I cannot kiss through the internet. It's improbable.
Kreml Hair Tonic.
I can't do it.
The New Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now, once again, it's time to keep our weekly appointment with that incomparable host and storyteller, Dr. Watson. I'm sure he's expecting us.
Of course I am, Mr. Bell. So come in, draw up your usual chair, make yourself comfortable. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. What story are you planning to tell us
Uh.
tonight?
Quite an exciting one, I think. The only relic I have on it is this rather mildewed piece of paper. I came across it just before you arrived as I was going over my notes on the case.
Look, this doesn't look very exciting. It's a hotel bill, and all it says is board and lodging for 1 week, 28 shillings and sixpence. Then there's an extra item, 1 pint of ale not paid for, 5 pence.
And yet that extra pint of ale was ordered at the very moment when Sherlock Holmes and I entered into one of the weirdest experiences we ever had.
Deselect.
The adventure of the Sally Martin.
Before you begin the story, Dr. Watson, do you mind if I...
Alright, hold up.
Men,
Where's the mic on this? I think this is the mic.
Many people that they don't leave the hair look
Is that better?
greasy. But let's
Is that what you wanted?
run your hand over your hair. Does your hair feel greasy or sticky? Now look at your hand.
Don't talk about my hair.
There is.
Don't talk. Evaporate. Calm down. Calm down.
Feeling greasy, sticky, or dirty. Kreml contains a very special hair grooming ingredient found in no other hair tonic. It
Right.
makes dry, unruly hair stay in place longer.
You hear that?
Such a nice, healthy-looking luster, too. When you use Kreml, you can run your hand over your hair and no grease comes off. Notice, too, how delightfully clean your hair feels. And just see if the ladies don't like that natural, well-groomed look.
Oh yeah, the ladies will love it.
Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic.
Yeah, because that's what ladies love.
Sally Martin.
Well, the
They
story
love
began
a
years
good,
ago
clean
at the
hair.
village of Kingkip on the Kentish coast.
I want to know.
At my insistence, Sherlock Holmes had agreed to take a much-needed holiday. And we were staying for a few days at a small seaside inn known as the Silver Dolphin. The adventure began
The Silver
on
Dolphin?
a foggy, bitterly cold evening. Holmes and I, after a hearty dinner, were seated in the public bar of the inn talking to a garrulous old sailor. Little did we think that even in that peaceful village, dark tragedy was stalking us. Tragedy
Dark
very soon
tragedy.
was to be brought to our attention.
Here you are, Albert. Another pint.
Thank you kindly, sir. Yes, you're very good health, gentlemen.
An amazing capacity. That's the fifth. I can't think where he puts it.
I see no mystery there, Watson. Go on with your story, Albert. You just reached the point where the shark had turned on you.
Well, gentlemen, I acts on the rail and dives into that raging sea. Pulls out me knife,
Oh, really? Where did you get the knife? I thought you said that you'd lost your clothes in the hurricane.
stepped to me middle I was. But I always kept a Bowie knife stuck in me belt.
Oh, really? How uncomfortable.
Well, I see the white belly of the shark turning at me. I let him have it. A rip here, a slash there. Ooh, there was blood all over the place.
There was blood all over the place. Oh my god.
I'll order you another pint, Albert.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Watson, look who's just come in.
Hey, it's our old friend Sergeant Dobson, isn't it?
Yes, and judging by his expression, the local representative of the law has serious business on his mind.
Serious business.
Mr. Holmes. Evening, Dr. Watson.
How are you, Dobson?
Can I have a word with you, private-like?
Of course you can.
Oh, I beg pardon, sir, but
If you need coffee, get some coffee, you know.
Don't worry, Albert.
It's a comfy morning. I'll be here.
Put it on my bill.
You gonna be streaming today?
Private, gentlemen.
Very well. Now, Sergeant, sit down and tell us what's on your mind.
Murder, Mr. Holmes.
Murder.
Who? Where?
Well, have you gentlemen...
The
noticed
Great
that
Scott.
sailing boat that's been moored out in the cove this past week?
Yes. I was informed that it was owned by George Byron, the Lancashire cotton manufacturer.
That's correct, sir. The boat's named the Sally Martin. And right at this moment, Mr. Byron's lying there...
Alright, go pee. Don't tell me about it. Just do it. There's no need to tell me.
Send a telegram to the police at Canterbury. But I left a constable to guard the people aboard. Good. I'm going back now to conduct my investigation. But the Canterbury police can't be here before morning, and I was hoping that...
Oh shit. What are you doing in California?
is a little outside of my
Just a
experience.
minute, Dobson. Mr. Holmes.
I mean, that's none of my business.
Cold out and foggy. As
Alright, then go pee. Go pee. I'll be here.
Here in the inn while a murder lies waiting to be solved less than a mile away. Come, Watson. The game's afoot.
Go pee.
Oh, how much further is it, Sergeant?
About a quarter of a mile,
Well, if
sir.
we don't get there soon, I won't answer for the consequences.
I'm not in California, so
Cheer up, Watson.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Suppose you give me as many facts as possible.
I ain't here. I ain't there.
There's 3 passengers, Mr. Holmes, and 2 in the crew.
Well, let's have this passengers first.
Well, there's Mrs. Byron, the dead man's wife. A lot younger than him, she is, and she
Whoa.
looks a bit on the flighty side, if you ask me. Even though she was having a proper fit of hysterics, like. And then there's Clarence Byron, the dead man's brother.
And what opinion did you form as to his character?
Well, sir, you understand I didn't talk to him much, but he acted cool as a cucumber, just as if murder didn't mean a thing to him.
And the third passenger?
Well, he's a young fella by
Yeah.
secretary to the dead man.
I mean, I don't know what actually is out there in California.
To me, as if Mrs. Byron
I haven't heard
for him even.
great things lately, so, you know.
You're very observant, Sergeant.
Oh, it's just training, sir.
How about the 2 crew members?
Well, there's
Hopefully it goes well.
he seemed perfectly above board, and a man by the name of Coggins, Arthur Coggins. He's a deckhand.
Well, I'm from Alabama.
Bit of back chat when I questioned them.
Holmes, how much further is it?
Barely 100 yards, old chap.
Oh, I feel awful. Do hurry up.
Move over, Sergeant. Let me take an oar.
You know, Alabama. Oh, that's nice.
Mr. Holmes, that's just how we found him.
Very illuminating.
Look at that murderous knife. It's buried to the hilt in his chest.
Yes, but more interesting than the knife at the moment is...
Oh, yeah.
What story does it tell you, Watson?
Very simple story.
Seems that there's a lot of people from Texas these days,
Come now. Surely
especially in Twitch.
You driving it?
Well, for one thing, in his right hand is an open book.
Oh, been reading.
Yes, and the sergeant has told us that the oil lantern beside his bunk was still burning when the body was found.
That's
What?
right, Mr. Holmes.
There's no sign of a struggle. Bedclothes aren't even rumpled. No cry.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So let us reconstruct.
I knew what you meant.
Mr. Byron was lying in his bunk, reading as you observed, Watson. The door opens. The murderer comes in, the knife hidden in his or her clothing. The victim has no suspicion of his fate because the murderer was someone who could enter his cabin at will. And suddenly, the fatal blow is struck.
Then it must have been one of the 3 passengers.
I think we may reasonably include the captain. The master of a schooner surely would have the ability to enter his
Texans
cabin without
for
creating
some
suspicion.
fat ass.
I think we've seen enough here, Sergeant.
I mean, Burnsy, I think, but Board Birdie. There are a few people that are
At once.
the Texan top. They got their 10-gallon hat and whatnot. Just swinging around, just spinning around a pistol.
Oh, there, Mrs. Byron. My friend's only trying to help you.
Oh, how can he help me? He can't bring poor George back to life again, can he?
No, madam. But at least I can try to find his murderer.
Easy, right, so take it easy, like, and answer his questions.
Very well. What do you want to know, Mr. Holmes?
That was very quick.
Anyone who might have had the motive
Whoa.
of murdering your husband?
Oh, half a dozen men. George made a lot of money. He was a hard businessman. He had many enemies.
But none of his business enemies had an opportunity of killing him tonight.
His biggest enemy, though I never could make him believe it, is on this very boat now. His brother Clarence.
Biggest enemy, his own brother. Oh, come, madam.
It's true, Clarence sponged on him, has done for years. And ever since I married George, he's tried to be more friendly to me than a brother-in-law should be. Just because I was once in the theater, he seems to think I didn't know how they lady
Oh,
behaves.
you in the theater? I wonder if you knew a girl who was Daly's pretty little thing. Her name
Watson, surely this is no time for your theatrical reminiscences. Mrs. Byron, are you familiar with the terms of your husband's will?
Everything he has comes to me. Well, that's perfectly natural, isn't it?
Perfectly. But in that case, your brother-in-law would hardly seem to profit from your husband's death.
I don't know what you're suggesting, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Do you think I stabbed him? I wouldn't have had the strength.
Mrs. Byron, I suggested nothing. But I'm interested to notice that you answer your questions as well as ask them.
Well, I'm
What?
not staying here to answer any more questions, Mr. Holmes. I'm going back to my cabin. If you want me, that's where you'll find me.
Now, wait a minute,
Let her go, Sergeant. And please ask Mr. Hodgson, the secretary, to come in here.
just as you say, sir.
Upon the soul, she's a fine little thing, isn't she? That's attractive, too. What do you make of her, Holmes?
It's hard to say. If one wished to deduce motive, it would be easy.
Well, she must be 25 years younger than her husband. And, a fortune coming to her. It is death, eh?
Precisely. And despite her own statement, a woman would have the strength to stab an unsuspecting man to death.
Here's Mr. Hodgson, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. Please sit down, Mr. Hodgson.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. This is a shocking business.
It is indeed, my boy.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Any questions you like?
When did you last see your employer tonight?
Shortly after dinner, Mr. Holmes. He was taking a turn round the deck. We chatted for a few minutes, and then I went to my cabin and retired. It was about 9:30 or quarter to 10.
You heard no cry for help? No shout in the night?
No, none. The first I knew of the tragedy was when the captain awakened me.
Can you suggest who might have had a motive for your murder?
Yeah.
Mr. Holmes, that's a little hard to answer.
No, Mr. Hodgson.
Yeah.
Anything back? You'll have to talk in a court of law.
Yeah. Oh, I accidentally hit the wrong button. Don't worry about it.
I did know that my employer's brother
Don't
has been borrowing.
worry about it.
Only yesterday morning I was compelled to draw my employer's attention to an irregularity in the monthly bank statement. A £500 check had been drawn. The signature was a forgery.
You think that Clarence Byron committed that forgery?
Yes, I do, sir. And so did my employer. The two brothers had a terrible row about it.
Sergeant, will you be good enough to ask Mr. Clarence Byron to come here, please?
Right you are, Mr. Holmes.
One very personal question, Mr. Hodgson.
Oh, that's okay.
Your employer's wife,
All right, buddy.
social one?
Thanks, bro.
As a matter of fact, Mrs. Byron has been very kind to me.
Oh, really?
My family are dead, and she's taken an interest in me. But I give you my word that it's been purely platonic.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Mr. Clarence Byron's lying in his bunk, sir. Says he can't come here. He's got a heart attack.
A heart attack. That's rather convenient, eh, Holmes?
Yes, Watson. And it's also convenient that there's a doctor aboard. Let's go and see him, shall we?
Oh, it's a radio play of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, I do, Doctor. That injection you gave me helped. Did you tell us, I suppose? No, it wasn't. Holmes,
There you go.
perfectly sound.
Can you hear it?
Simulating an attack.
So I gathered. Since an injection of plain water apparently gave him immediate relief. Plain water?
Yes, your heartbeat was full and regular, and your color normal. So I decided to try an experiment.
And a very successful one. Why did you pretend to have a heart attack, Mr. Byron?
I wasn't pretending. I do have a bad heart.
That I don't doubt. Only a bad heart could prompt you to swindle your brother and then murder him.
I didn't murder him. Though, I can tell you who did.
Oh? You are very eager to shift suspicion, Mr. Byron. Who, in your opinion, murdered your brother?
That deckhand, Arthur Coggins.
Only a few days ago he threatened my brother's life.
You heard him make the threat?
Yes, I did. It was his second day aboard. It was early in the morning. I was strolling on deck when I came on this man Coggins, who was standing by the mainmast, practicing throwing a knife.
Uh-huh. A likely story.
Coggins?
What's that?
I said you're pretty handy with a knife.
Yes. I know how to use a knife.
Sounds hot like you. Okay. Alright. Thank you.
No. Not if I don't get...
I appreciate it, bud.
Just yesterday, the owner yells out to me, "Here, you, whatever your name is, treating me like dirt, whatever your name is. Can't he find out my name? I'm as good as he is." One of these dark nights, he'll get what's coming to him.
That's what he said, Mr. Holmes. And he looked as if he meant business.
He's an expert with a knife, you say. Holmes, do you think it's possible that Coggins threw the knife through a porthole into the dead man's cabin?
Yes, Watson, it's possible. Your story was interesting, Mr. Byron, though, of course, entirely uncorroborated. I think we'll go and talk to the captain and see if he can supplement your information.
Well, Mr. Holmes, I can't answer for the passengers. That's no business of mine.
I appreciate that, Captain Small, but you'll answer for your crew, no doubt.
That I will, sir. And this man Coggins is a no good if ever I saw one. Insubordinate, surly, always talking about how he's as good and better than those who employ him.
And why did you engage him, Captain?
I didn't, sir. That was arranged by my employer, Mr. George Byron. If I had my way, Coggins would have gone back ashore the first day he stepped aboard.
Where are his...
Great Scott, is that a revolver shot?
Well, it sounded like it, and it came from the forecastle.
Mr. Holmes! Mr. Holmes!
This way, Sergeant.
Gotta finish these. And then I've got...
With a smoking revolver in his right hand. He's committed suicide.
Yes. His head is sprawled on a piece of foolscap. A confession note, no doubt.
Yes, it is.
I've got this.
I killed him, and with my record, I knew you'd catch me.
With that.
I took the quick way out. Case is solved, Holmes.
On the contrary, Watson, it's...
And
If you
then...
look closely, you will realize that we now have 2 murders to solve instead of 1. And somewhere on this boat, a murderer is still at large, and may strike a 3rd time.
I got these. I got these to work on. You know, too much fun. If it's not one thing, it's another.
In just a moment, we'll find out if the murderer does strike a 3rd time. But first,
What?
you might as well grin and bear it.
Oh,
This tells us that
I'm not bald.
where the hair roots are dead. But you certainly can make the most of the hair you've got. And man, you can't beat Kreml hair tonic.
Oh,
To
shoot.
help you, Kreml contains
Hold up.
very special hair grooming ingredients found in no other hair tonic. That's why Kreml keeps hair neatly in place longer and without
Papa
that
Doodles.
offensive greasy look. But
I'm
Kreml does
just
lots
here
more
at
than
home.
keep
What's
hair
up?
looking handsome. Let me repeat. Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome.
They
A
don't work
massage
today.
with Kreml helps stimulate circulation right in the surface
They're
of the
like,
scalp.
it's too
Your
muddy,
scalp
too
feels so
rainy.
alive,
We can't
so
handle it.
invigorated. At the same time, it removes
We're
loose dandruff and
big
has a
babies.
fine
We can't-
lubricating
we
effect
can't
on a
do
dry
it.
scalp. And for hair that's so dry that it cracks and falls, remember Kreml actually helps condition the hair. And it leaves it feeling so much softer and more pliable. Men, buy a bottle
Yeah.
of Kreml at any drug counter. It's such a nice, clean product you can use
Love
it every
it.
day so that your hair always looks its best. Kreml.
No, when I got home, I streamed, but after that, I went to bed.
So, Dr. Watson, the apparent suicide turned out to be
I
another
gotta
of the
go to
murders
work
that-
at
Holmes
1:30.
sent Sergeant Dobson to check the passengers while the 3 of us stood in that tiny cabin.
Yep.
An oil lamp swinging
Yep,
above us
yep, yep.
and shedding a strange glow on the macabre scene.
Love you more.
I asked him why he was so positive that it
Bye-bye.
wasn't suicide.
You will notice, Watson, that the revolver is in Coggins' right hand.
Yes, Holmes, I don't see what...
Then ignore the right hand and observe the left.
Ugh.
A deckhand is accustomed to...
That was my dad.
Notice the calluses on his left hand and the freedom from them on the right.
By Jove.
So let me finish
He
this.
was, Mr. Holmes. I've noticed him at work.
Again, you'll observe the shot entered his head from behind the right ear. A remarkable feat of dexterity for a left-handed man.
And the murderer had the note ready, shot Coggins from behind, but made the mistake of placing the revolver in the wrong hand.
Precisely. But this note, obviously in disguised writing, poses another
Yeah, it was my dad.
phrase. And with my record, I knew you'd catch me mean.
He must have had a police record.
But why volunteer the information? I wonder if the murderer had a reason. Captain, you said that Cockins was engaged by Mr. George Byron.
Well, sir, he told me about the new man, but I don't know that he interviewed him personally.
Where was he engaged?
At the Seamen's Hostel here in the village.
Well, what are you getting at, Holmes?
Surely it's obvious, Watson. If this man Coggins had a police record, his murderer might have deliberately placed him on this boat knowing he would be suspected. Yes, it's possible. The question is, who engaged him? Well, Sergeant?
All three of them in their cabins, Mr. Holmes, and swore they hadn't left them.
And yet we know that one of them must have slipped down here and shot Coggins.
Lock them in their cabin, Sergeant. Keep good watch on them. Dr. Watson and I are going ashore.
Sure? Why, Holmes, when the murderer's here on this boat?
Because I'm convinced that the clue to his identity lies waiting for us at the Seamen's Hostel. Where is the place, Sergeant? And who runs it?
Olmar Jenkins. It's the house just next to the Red Lion.
Old man Jenkins.
We're taking this note and rowing ashore.
Another trip in that filthy rowing boat? Must we, Holmes?
We must. Oh.
It's a fine time of night to rootle a respectable woman out of a warm bed, I must say, and no mistake.
But Mrs. Jenkins,
Call me Ma. Everyone calls me Ma.
Very well. We've come to you because you're the one person who can help solve two murders that took place on the Sally Martin tonight.
Murder? Come into me parlor. I'll light the lamp. There. Now, what's this you say happened aboard the Sally Martin?
the owner, Mr. Byron, was stabbed to death about 10 o'clock tonight. Later on, a seaman by the name of Arthur Coggins was killed, too.
Arthur was killed.
You knew this man, Arthur Coggins?
Of course I knew. Over a year he's been staying with me. He couldn't get a ship because of his record.
What record was that?
He brought his ship's papers to me. They all do when they're out of a berth. The last ship he was on 2 years ago it was, he got mixed up in a knife fight.
Oh, did he?
Alaska was killed and Arthur arrested. They couldn't prove he was guilty, but he hasn't had a berth since because it was written in his papers.
That fits into your theory, Holmes. The murderer engaged him deliberately, knowing his record.
Exactly. Mrs. Ma,
That's me.
do you recall the name of the man who interviewed Coggins?
No.
The man who engaged him for the Sally Martin?
No. But it's here in my book. It's the last entry I made. Here it is.
Clarence Byron.
Brother. There's our man, Holmes.
Could you describe the appearance of Mr. Byron, Ma?
No, I can't say I remember much about it. He was all muffled up. He was a nice-spoken gentleman, though.
You can recall no clue to his identity? It's, worth a sovereign to you if you can.
A sovereign? Well, let me think. Yes, there's one thing I do remember.
It's worth money? Oh, shit.
Splendid, Ma. Watson, the case is solved.
Of course it is. Clarence is the man.
May I congratulate you on your powers of observation, Watson. Ma, here are 2 sovereigns for you.
2? But you
The
said...
extra one is for the privilege of borrowing this registry book of yours for a few hours.
No.
I'm taking it back to the Sally Martin with us so that we may compare the handwriting in it with that of a murderer.
Oh, but this is ridiculous, Mr. Holmes. Why should you ask Clarence to sign his name?
Bear with me a few moments longer, Mrs. Byron, and you'll see why.
Blessed if I know what you're up to, Mr. Holmes,
A
either.
little patience, Sergeant, and you'll see, too.
Have you any objection to signing your name, Mr. Byron?
I suppose not, though I'm just as confused as the rest of them.
Oh, these are the emotes.
There.
These are the emotes that I'm working on.
I wonder if you'd mind helping us.
Of course not, Mr.
You saw a forged check. I wonder if you'd try and
So, I already got
Mr. Byron's signature?
Yes, his
a lot of them already done. They're already on my Discord.
See how nearly you can imitate it.
So all I need is these two done, and then all my emotes will be done.
You're out of your mind.
Will you copy his signature, Mr. Hodgson?
Of course, if you think it'll help you.
Holmes, look.
Hodgson. Sign, please, Mr. Hodgson.
Clarence Byron.
There. Thank you. That's a remarkably fine gold signet ring you're wearing, Mr. Hodgson.
Thank you.
Watson, give me Ma Jenkins' register book.
There you are, Holmes.
Sergeant, I want you to compare the signature in this book with that which Mr. Hodgson has just given us. I think you'll agree that they're both written by the same man.
They are. Well, blow me down.
So he forged Clarence's signature.
Exactly. He is quite a specialist in handwriting.
Albert, you didn't kill him. You couldn't have done it.
It's no good, Mabel, and you know it as well as I do. You knew what I was up to. You helped me. You suggested that I use Clarence's name.
That's a lie.
A lie or not, Sergeant, I suggest you take out your notebook. They're talking in front of witnesses, so make the most of the fact. The sun's coming up, Watson.
Yes, the sea's calmer, Holmes.
A very
Huh?
satisfactory start to
Are you in the Discord? Hold up.
his accomplice, both of them safely in the care of the police.
Yeah, I think you're in the Discord. Nightbot's just a pain in the butt.
As he was an expert knife thrower, he could have thrown one through a porthole into the dead man's cabin.
Yeah, you're in the. Yeah, you're in there. Yeah, Nightbot, calm down.
It would have been impossible to have thrown the knife through a
Hee 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 hee.
I can see it all now.
Well, you should post in there sometime. I would love to see your post. Show me your artwork. Show me your artwork.
Yes, but like so many murderers, he tried to be too clever. He left enough clues to hang himself half a dozen times
Why did
over.
Clarence pretend to have that heart attack?
The nervousness of a person who knows himself to be under suspicion. A futile attempt to escape interrogation.
Well, I'm glad it's all over. I'm exhausted and I'm frozen, and I'm delighted to think that this is my last trip in this horrible rowing boat.
Whereas I'm feeling very stimulated, and in a distinctly altruistic mood.
Altruistic? What do you mean, Holmes?
If you'll observe the flurry of excitement at the quayside, the figures in blue serge that are at this moment embarking in boats, you'll realize that the police from Canterbury have just
Well, I
arrived.
still don't see how altruism comes into the picture.
I intend to claim no credit in the solution of this crime. And in consequence, I see little reason why our old friend Sergeant Dobson should not very soon be known as Inspector Dobson.
Whoa, oh, hot damn. Hot
Just a moment, Dr. Watson will
damn.
tell us something about next week's story. But first, girls, if you want to really make a hit with the boyfriend, here's a beauty tip right out from here in Hollywood.
Yep,
And one which lovely
right
girls
from
are
Hollywood.
the first to discover.
Give your hair a 10-minute glamour bath with Kreml shampoo. This amazingly beautifying shampoo has been especially developed so that it actually brings out all the brilliant, natural luster of each tiny strand of hair.
Right.
Kreml shampoo leaves the hair fairly teeming with highlights.
And don't forget, Kreml shampoo is wonderful for the entire family.
And yes, even in the hardest water, it whips up gobs of rich, luxurious foam, which penetrates right to the scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
So, ladies, buy the large family size of Kreml shampoo. K-R-E-M-L. Kreml shampoo, the largest selling shampoo with an oil base. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now let me see. Next week. Next week, I think I'll tell you how Holmes solved a murder with only one clue. The depth to which the parsley had sunk in the butter on a hot summer's day. I call this bizarre adventure The Strange Death of Mrs. Abernethy.
Oh my god, bro.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Reigate Puzzle. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about the strange death of Mrs. Abernethy. ABC, the American...
Mm.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Well, once again, it's time to join our good friend and host, Dr. Watson, as he waits for us in his familiar study. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell.
Well, are you all set for tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, my boy, I'm all set, as you put it. I was looking over my notes on the case before you arrived, and I came across this. It played an extremely prominent part in tonight's story.
Well, what is it, Dr. Watson? It looks like a dried leaf of some kind.
In its younger days, Mr. Bell, it was a sprightly sprig of parsley.
Dr. Watson, I know you have the habit of collecting odd mementos from your cases, but a sprig of parsley.
And yet, my boy, this withered piece of greenery enabled Sherlock Holmes to solve one of the most diabolical murders we ever
What?
The strange death.
What? Come on. I want to see that garbage art. I love seeing garbage art. Have you seen my art?
Every man who wants to get to the top should realize how much neatly groomed hair adds to a man's appearance. And I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing how so many of America's most prosperous and successful men keep their hair looking so attractive.
I would love to see the hot garbage.
Because Kreml contains precious hair grooming ingredients found in no other hair tonic. This is why Kreml gives a man's hair such a natural, well-groomed look.
Garbage wants to appreciate garbage. I'm the trash man.
Make this test, men. After you apply Kreml, run your hand back over your hair. Notice how delightfully clean your hair feels. Notice how no grease comes off.
Gree?
Looks like a million and feels like a million when you use Kreml. Kreml. Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the mystery of the withered parsley and the strange death of Mrs. Abernethy?
Well, Mr. Bell, at the time I'm talking about, this parsley, just like myself, was a great deal younger. But to get on with my story, Holmes had just concluded his amazing investigation in the...
Way bit younger. Ha ha ha. You sound like you've always been fucking old, Mr. Watson.
Surprisingly generous for an English summer, and on our second day, Holmes and I had gone for a stroll along the towpath of the River Thames. Holmes was in an extremely...
You're not like Bilbo over here.
As we walked back towards our hotel...
Rosie. Can't not think of that. Whenever I think Bilbo, I think Frodo. And when I think Frodo, I think of Oni Play's version of Lord of the Rings.
I'm afraid it has the reverse effect on me, Watson. That's the curse of having a mind like mine.
Yes, because I'm so smart.
My own special subject. You look at those scattered houses and are impressed by their peace and beauty. I look at them and think how easily crime may be committed there.
Good Lord, who'd associate crime with a spot like that?
It's my opinion, Watson, based on experience, that the lowest and vilest alleys in London do not present a more dreadful record of sin than does the smiling countryside.
What a morbid thought.
The reason is obvious. The pressure of public opinion can do in the city what the law cannot accomplish. There's no lane so dark that the scream of a tortured child or the thud of a drunkard's blow does not obtain sympathy and help from some neighbor. But look at these lonely houses. Think of the deeds of hellish cruelty, the hidden wickedness, which may go on year in, year out in such places and no one the wiser.
Upon my soul, Holmes, you're in a particularly depressing mood. Hello. Look at this fellow running towards us. Must be crazy. Imagine galloping along a towpath on a hot day like this.
From his expression, I think we may reasonably assume that he's not doing it for the exercise.
Excuse me, but is one of you gentlemen Dr. Watson?
Yes, sir, I am. And this is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, how do you do, sir? Mr. Holmes?
How do you do?
My name is Garrett Abernethy. I heard that you were staying in the village. I went to your hotel, and they told me that you'd gone for a walk in this direction.
I presume you need a doctor's help.
Yes, I do. Dr. Watson, I know you're on a holiday, but...
Oh, well, naturally, I'm at your service, sir. What is wrong?
Oh, perhaps we could start walking back to the inn. My horse and trap are there, and I'll tell you about it as we go.
Yes, tell him about it.
Bad
Tell him, tell him.
Holmby Grange, a few miles out of the village. I'd like to drive you out there at once,
But
Doctor.
surely if you live here, you must have a family doctor.
Well, he's in London for
Thank you for the compliment.
See, tell me, Mr. Abernethy, what...
I appreciate you.
Well, she said she was taking her usual nap before lunch.
I'm gonna get stuff done, god damn it.
Bleeding entirely for a few moments.
Has she had these attacks before?
Well, I can't tell you much about it. The family says that for her age, she's been in very good health. I've been abroad for a few years.
In China, I observe, Mr. Abernethy.
Yes. Yes, I went out there as a war correspondent covering the Boxer Rebellion. But how did you know?
The fish that you have tattooed immediately above your right wrist could only have been done in China. That trick of staining the fish's scale a delicate pink is quite peculiar to that country.
That's amazing, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, it's not so amazing as all that. It's just a certain facility for observation, sir. For instance, from what you've told me of your mother's symptoms, I should say that her lips are bluish, that she runs out of breath when walking upstairs, and the veins in her cheeks are unusually pronounced.
I begin to think I've met a pair of magicians.
Oh, boy.
But you're right, Doctor.
I see I put you on your mettle, Watson. How did you deduce that?
Elementary, my dear Holmes. The symptoms that Mr. Abernethy described were typical of mitral constriction. I shall be delighted to examine your mother and do whatever I can for her.
I'm very grateful, Doctor.
You're in good hands, Mr. Abernethy. Well, Watson, I shall see you later, no doubt. This is
What are you doing, Rabbit?
Sure, you need no help from me.
What are you doing? Are you looking for a snack?
Well, Dr. Watson, I'm not much of a one for doctors. Stick out your tongue and give me a guinea. That's what most of them say. Well, what's your verdict?
That there's nothing seriously
I don't know why you keep calling me daddy, but I guess I will accept it.
Lizzie. Yes, ma'am? You heard what the doctor said. Now try and stop your wool gathering long enough to see that I get those drops.
Yes, I won't forget.
You'd forget your own name if the butcher's boy was to ring the bell, though, wouldn't you?
Yes, I mean, no.
You can leave the room, Lizzie.
Yes,
Well, what a bitch.
I think you should rest for a while, Mrs. Abernethy.
Plenty of time for rest at my age, Doctor. Anyway, I want to talk to you privately.
Oh, shit.
I sent Lizzie out of the room. I want you to bring your friend Sherlock Holmes here to lunch tomorrow.
Sherlock Holmes? But how did you know that...
That he was in the village? There's nothing new in the village or anywhere else going on here that I don't know about, Doctor. Now, will you bring him? I've got something very important to discuss.
You guess. I guess that I'm
What was that filthy medicine you gave me?
smart.
Made me sleepy.
Well, that was its purpose, madam.
My family think I'm going to die.
Is that what you meant?
Hoping for it.
Oh, rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. You're not going to die, madam.
We'll fool them, Doctor, won't we? We'll fool them. Who is it?
Now, Mrs. Abernethy. I'll go to the door.
Oh, Doctor, I came to see how Granny was getting along. I'm Rose Abernethy.
I'm Dr. Watson. How do you do, my dear?
Who is it, Doctor?
It's me, Granny. I came to see how you are.
Take the doctor downstairs, Rose. Give him some tea and introduce him to the rest of the family. He's got bad news for them. I'm going to live.
Damn.
Uncle Gareth, will you introduce
Who?
Mr. Watson, please?
Of course, my dear Rose. And I appreciate your motive in giving me the privilege. A shy, retiring girl like yourself would hardly dare make such a descriptive introduction as I will.
Uncle Gareth, you've been drinking again.
Since I was the only member of this heartless Abernethy clan that had the initiative to go and get a doctor, I think I was entitled to a brandy or two. Come on, Watson. Come and meet my noble brothers. They're here in the library. waiting like hopeful vultures for bad news about our dear mother's health.
Oh, well, sir, I think perhaps some other
Oh,
time.
no. Might as well get it over with.
I'm sorry, Dr. Watson. I didn't know Uncle had been drinking.
Oh, that's quite all right, my dear child.
Dr. Watson, let me introduce my brother, Ernest.
How do you do?
How are you, Dr. Watson? Since the success of Oscar Wilde's recent...
You can call me daddy if you want to. I don't feel like I have daddy status
You're referring to the importance of
just yet.
You see, Doctor, my brother is a brilliant wit, and brandy sharpens his perceptions even more. He's been known to launch a whole string of leaden epigrams in the course of one evening.
Yes, and he's been known to do an honest day's work in his life, which is more than you can say, my dear Ernest.
Paris, I'm sure Dr. Watson has no desire to listen to our dreary wranglings. Why not introduce him to John?
I'm going to. Watson, this is my other brother, John Abernethy.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do, Doctor?
John is the respectable member of the family. He manages the estates here, and at least has the unique distinction of having worked for the money he gets from Mother.
Shouldn't talk like this in front of a stranger, Gareth. Bad form, you know.
Yes, Uncle Gareth. Dr. Watson's come here to tell us about Granny.
Oh, and then let's hear the verdict. It means much more to us than you could possibly imagine, I can assure you.
Well, I examined Mrs. Abernethy very thoroughly. Considering her age, I'm glad to say that her condition is quite good. I've prescribed Genitalis for her, and she should pull through very nicely. In fact, I see no reason why she shouldn't live to be 100.
Oh, Uncle Ernest, that was one of our nicest wine glasses.
Look at us, Watson. You give us the best possible news, and look at our faces. Don't you realize that this whole family is waiting for one thing? My mother's death?
I tell you, Holmes, it was perfectly nauseating.
I must say they sound like a peculiarly unattractive family.
All except the granddaughter Rose, she's a sweet little thing, but the others are a bunch of good-for-nothings.
Undoubtedly. And yet my reaction to what you've told me is one of intense curiosity. As I remarked earlier today, the quiet countryside...
Of course you got that.
...beauty cloaks some of the...
I need to be a father to have a daddy status.
potential tragedy smoldering there.
I need to have children.
Four relations living there and praying for one thing, her death. No, Watson. With such a setting, my curiosity is overpowering.
Then you will...
I need to find a lady.
Attempts may have
A lady goat. So that I might have a few.
Call upon the lady and see what can be done to help her.
Might have a few kids, as they say.
I'd like to tell you why I asked you to come here today, and I want my family to know too. Children, I want your attention.
Oh, Mother, not another lecture, surely.
No, Ernest, not a lecture. Merely a statement of fact. I have asked Mr. Sherlock Holmes here today because he is a detective.
A detective? What's the matter, Mother? Has someone pinched the family silver?
Gareth, be quiet.
No, please don't excite yourself, madam. Remember that heart of yours.
Yes, Granny, do be careful.
Oh, stop fussing over me, Rose, and sit down. Gareth, you mentioned the family silver. How did you know that's what I was going to speak about?
Oh, Mother, I was only joking.
Were you? Strange joke. Mr. Holmes, I discovered a few days ago that the Abernethy silver has been stolen piece by piece and replaced by imitations.
How do you know, Mrs. Abernethy?
I recently had occasion to have some of our silver knives repaired. The blades were loose in the handles. The London jeweler to whom I sent them reported that they were not the family silver, but plated imitations. I had him come down here and examine the rest of the set. They're frauds. I want you to find out who's responsible. I know it's one of these four children.
That's ridiculous, Mother. Why suggest that one of us is responsible?
Because I know you children too well.
Personally, I think it's what you deserve, Mother.
Dare you?
I'm not dependent on you, Mother, but the others are. You've kept them dangling too long. Look at you, Rose. You're still young. Are you going to stay here another 20 years waiting for your grandmother to die?
Gareth, leave her room.
Now, please, Mrs. Abernethy.
That's what it says, man. Oh, go away. I love you.
Quick, Watson. She's having another attack.
Out of the room, everybody, please.
Oh, Dr. Hell.
No. Don't worry, Mrs. Abernethy. You're going to be quite all right.
you feeling better, Mrs. Abernethy?
Yes, Mr. Holmes, I am.
That digitalis soon pulled you round, didn't it? You must remember not to take another dose until this evening. In the meanwhile, I think you'd better go and lie down.
No, Doctor. I want to go into lunch. And afterwards, I have something else to tell you, Mr. Holmes. Something I don't intend the family to hear. And it's much more significant than stealing silver.
Mrs. Abernethy, I think if you were to tell me your real problem now, simply and directly, a great deal of time and patience might be saved.
After lunch, Mr. Holmes. Doctor, give me your arm.
18 Warthog, thank you for coming in and saying hey.
Excellent lunch, I must say.
And the conversation has had all the sparkle and gaiety of a funeral oration.
Well, since you've entirely monopolized the conversation, Gareth, that's not very surprising.
Stop wrangling, you two. Got guests. Bad form, you know.
Mr. Holmes, did you care for some more coffee?
Thank you, Mrs. Abernethy. I'd like another cup.
Granny, what's wrong? Your hand is shaking so.
Doctor! Doctor! Granny!
Quick, Dr. Watson. Mrs. Abernethy.
Don't be with Mother.
Holmes. She's dead.
Then I must assume a different mission than the one I came here to perform. I suggest that you all leave this room, and that one of you sends a servant for the police. Murder has just been committed before our eyes.
Murder? But Holmes, she died of a heart attack.
When death is so intensely desired by 4 persons present? No, Watson. I'm afraid I can't assume a verdict of natural death. In proof, I suggest you notice the depth to which that parsley has sunk in the butter. I repeat, send for the police.
Oh, now.
Before we find out what the police discover, men, once you get bald, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But it's never too early to make the most
There's
of
someone with a full set of hair. I know.
Kreml contains very special hair grooming ingredients which have never been duplicated in any other hair tonic. Kreml keeps the hair in place longer, always looking so neat and well-groomed, never greasy or sticky. But this highly specialized hair tonic does lots more than just keep the hair looking handsome. A quick massage with Kreml helps stimulate circulation right in the surface of the scalp, leaving your scalp feeling so alive, so invigorated. At the same time, Kreml removes loose dandruff and has a fine lubricating effect on a dry scalp.
Oh yeah.
And if your hair is dry,
Oh yeah. Give me that. Give me that Kreml.
in that it leaves it feeling so much softer, more pliable. Men, I'm sure you'll enjoy the way Kreml always feels so clean on your scalp, looks so clean on your hair, and has such a clean odor. How it helps give you such a handsome, clean-cut appearance. Buy a bottle at any drug counter. K-R-E-M-L. Kreml Hair Tonic. Well, Dr. Watson, I begin to see what you mean about that withered sprig of parsley. But I still don't understand what it had to do with the death of the old lady.
Well, more did I, Mr. Bell, at the time, but Sherlock Holmes soon explained it to me. As soon as the family had left the dining room and the police had been sent for, Holmes and I stood together in that room of death, examining the dining room table.
Yes, Watson. I'm certain that she was poisoned before our eyes.
But how, Holmes?
You'll admit that in her condition a double dose of digitalis would have been fatal?
Possibly, yes, but she didn't have an overdose. I gave her some before we came into lunch and told her not to take her usual dose at the table. And she didn't take it.
Not consciously, Watson, but I'm convinced that she received another dose in her food.
How? She didn't eat the roast lamb that the rest of us had. She simply had 2 lightly boiled eggs. She cracked them open herself. They couldn't have been poisoned.
But she put butter in her eggs, large quantities of butter.
We all ate butter from the same dish, Holmes.
True, but once again I ask you to observe the significant fact. The depth to which the parsley has sunk in the butter.
The parsley hasn't sunk perceptibly at all.
That, my dear Watson, is the significant fact.
Oh, beg your pardon, sir. As you said as how you thought something was wrong with the lunch. I'm the cook.
Something was very wrong with the lunch, my good woman.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I hear as how Mrs. Abernethy has been took with another of her spells.
Yes, she has. Tell me, was this table laid for lunch at 1 o'clock?
Yes, sir, it was. But you didn't come in till half an hour later.
While Mrs. Abernethy's attack delayed us in the drawing room, did anyone come through the kitchen into this room?
No, sir. Lizzie and me would have seen him if they had.
And when you set the table, you
It looks nice. Thank you. Thank you, Evaporate. I appreciate that.
That's funny. Who could have put that on there?
Joe Holmes, you're right. But the roast of lamb was garnished with parsley, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was.
Splendid. I'm much obliged to you.
I hope the mistress finds better soon, sir.
Watson, I'm going to take that butter to the village, chemist shop, and have it analyzed. While I'm doing that, I want you to conduct an experiment. of your own.
Thank you.
Obtain a fresh quantity of butter from the kitchen. Place a sprig of parsley and see how far in half an hour it sinks in.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to accept it. Do I even sound like a father? If I do, that makes sense. I can understand. But if you're just saying that to say that, I'm like, oh, okay. You say so.
True. It would not produce any effect on a normally healthy person.
How's it going? Well, it's going pretty good. It's an early morning for me. I immediately was like, oh, okay, I need to stream. I was gonna stream last night, but then the sleep took me.
Murder used a hypodermic needle to inject the digitalis, and he had to hide the holes made by the needle. So he took the parsley from the roast and placed it on the butter.
Who had the opportunity?
That's what we have to find out. Have the police arrived?
Yes, there's a Sergeant Jenkins in charge. He's out there in the kitchen questioning the servants.
Then let's join forces. A murderer's in this house, Watson. Between us, we've got to catch him.
We have to catch him.
Mr. Holmes, I've questioned everybody. The cook, Martha, says nobody came in through the kitchen when lunch was waiting on the table.
And yet we know somebody did, Sergeant.
Well, perhaps they came through the window.
I checked that too, sir. The gardener was working in the rhododendron bed outside.
Rhododendron?
And the only other entrance to the dining room was the door leading into the
What is exactly happening there? Oh, it's a giant thing hitting it, hitting my head, saying save.
Well, it looks as if no one could have tampered with the butter.
Whereas we know they did. Sergeant Jenkins, you've been very thorough in your examinations, but one of these witnesses is lying. We must talk to them again. Martha, when you said no one came through your kitchen and went...
Yeah, it's a big old save right over here. Dropping a huge save, just being like, go! Save! God damn it! You SOB save!
Please ask Mr. Ernest Abernethy to step in here for a moment.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, Lizzie did go through the library door, but I can't see that fact as of much importance.
Possibly you can't. And yet I assure you my question was not an idle one. Was Lizzie carrying anything, do you recall?
I really didn't notice. I'm afraid I find the problems of chess, even with Brother John as an opponent, more interesting than the perambulations of the worthy Lizzie.
Lizzie,
Yes, sir?
you did go into the room just before lunch?
Yes, sir. I remember that I forgot to put the claret out. That would be room temperature. Mr. Ernest is most particular about that.
Thank you, Lizzie. You may go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, do you think she did it? Surely there's no doubt of it in your mind now, is there?
Well, there is in mine, Mr. Holmes, and no mistake.
And yet the case is solved, Sergeant. Let's go into the drawing room and I'll introduce you to our murderer.
You know, what if Holmes died in the middle of that?
And so, ladies and gentlemen, you can all see now...
What if he's like, I'll tell you who the murderer is.
But that doesn't seem possible, Mr. Holmes.
I find it hard to believe that with her addle-pated mentality, she'd have the imagination to think of such a plot.
Oh, no, Gareth. The man responsible for this murder is you.
Uncle Gareth!
This is ridiculous.
I did not say the murderer. I said the man responsible.
Holmes, what on earth are you driving at?
Gareth, by his example in finding a job and going abroad, caused one of his other relatives to become disgusted with the life of a parasite. That person decided to go beyond such petty devices as stealing silver and to turn to murder.
An Abernethy commit murder? I say, really, a remarkably brilliant observation.
Which one is it,
John.
Holmes?
Surely that's obvious. Two witnesses, the cook and Ernest, at first swore no one had entered the dining room. Then, when I asked a question based on one of the elementary flaws of direct evidence, each admitted that Lizzie had entered.
Lizzie herself admitted it, Mr. Holmes.
Very true. She told us in detail how she had entered the dining room, once. But the witnesses had her entering twice. The cook saw her come through the kitchen door, and you, Ernest, admitted that she had passed you through the library door. Someone else had realized that same flaw of evidence, that no employer really notices the actions of a servant. Someone else had entered that room in the maid's uniform. And who is the only suspect who could have done that?
By George, Rose Abernethy.
The shy and retiring Rose?
Yes, I killed Granny. When Dr. Watson said that Grandmother might live another 20 years, I saw that I'd never get away from here.
Well, you're getting away from here now, miss. I'm taking you over to the station.
I don't care. I'd be an old maid.
And I warn you that anything you say may be used in evidence against you.
Damn. Damn, I picked it out immediately. Ah ha ha.
Shocking case. I'm glad we're headed back to our hotel and never have to see that Abernethy family.
Bed robbery. How you been?
That quiet, shy little thing was capable of conceiving such a devilish murder.
Solitude, unhappiness, and the companionship of an evil, maladjusted family and a tyrannical grandmother breed dark fancies, Watson.
She dressed up in a maid's uniform, convinced that no one would give her a second glance, and then, having poisoned the butter, returned, changed her dress, and sat down at the luncheon table.
Precisely. Well, Watson, this has...
You should try it. Yeah. How you been, Robbery?
My self-appointed biographer will profit from.
What model is it?
I'm good. It's an early morning.
Abernethy would not now be on her way to a prison cell.
Sleepy early morning for Goat.
The depth to which the parsley had sunk in the butter.
Yeah, doing good in the neighborhood.
Just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us something about next week's story.
What?
Have you noticed how men can't help but admire the bright, shimmering highlights in a woman?
No, I have not.
Follow the advice of the famous $1 Million Powers model.
I mean, I have Robin and Kate. I just haven't drawn Robin and Kate. Why, what's up?
This amazingly beautifying Kreml shampoo actually glamour bathes each tiny strand of hair and uncovers all its natural radiant luster.
Bam.
And Kreml shampoo never dries the hair. In fact, it has a beneficial oil.
You believe?
That helps keep the hair from becoming dry.
You believe?
Active foam penetrates right to the scalp and removes.
Yeah, I haven't drawn them.
So, ladies, buy
Yeah.
Kreml shampoo at any drug counter. See how
Yeah.
easy it is to glamour bathe your hair.
You are gonna help me with the clothes?
Kreml. Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, next week I think I'll tell you about the singular, pardon me, it was the singular affair.
Well then, if it's on an iPad, you can install Discord onto your iPad and then send it through there.
Lying in the middle of our floor, an unclothed corpse.
A naked corpse? My God.
Holmes' adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Sixth Napoleon. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures.
These things happen.
Courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo. And inviting you to be with us next week.
Fantasy, obviously. Fantasy, always.
Of the Coptic Compass.
Fantasy clothes, always. Yeah. Ah, I gotcha. Well, then put it on there anyway. To hell with the government. I'm messing, because I'm mostly Mormon. Alright, well, okay, well then do casual then. Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna force you down any road. If you're definitely down for the casual, go for the casual. But I like the fantasy.
Immortal Sherlock Holmes, I'm not going to miss a second.
Nice of you to say so, my boy.
I like the fantasy.
Make yourself comfortable.
Before I sit down, Dr. Watson, you mind if I take a look at the old metal case on the mantelpiece?
Lame. You will have to fight them. I am going to have to go. I'll have to talk to to the government, and I'm going to have to send them a strongly worded letter.
That's exactly what it is, my boy.
But there are no numerals on it. Just these strange figures.
Yeah, we can do both. It's your choice, Daubrey. It's okay. Drawberry. From the Drawberry tree.
The half-eaten apple, the Coptic compass, and the unclothed corpse.
Okay, okay.
You'll wait long enough to have a word with our listeners now, won't you, Mr. Bell?
Right. Men,
The government. Government. Rats for government. There's a weird streamer that has that as a commercial, and he's like, "Hey, did you guys think that rats could be in government?"
looks and feels on your hair and scalp. When you use Kreml, you can run your hand over your hair.
Rats for government.
Not a trace of that greasy, sticky feeling. Yet you can't beat Kreml to
'Cause if you can't trust a rat, who can you trust?
combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. That's why it keeps hair in place longer, with such a natural, well-groomed appearance. So men, let Kreml give
Oh
you
no.
some clean-cut look which is bound to make a hit, both on the job and with the ladies.
Sorry, I forgot to pay my taxes. That's okay. We're rats. It's alright.
And the unclothed corpse? Well, Mr. Bell, the adventure began on a November morning shortly after the turn of the century. Holmes, seldom one to indulge in exercise for its own sake, had displayed a rare burst of activity and joined me in a stroll through Regent's Park. Just before noon, we retraced our steps, and as we turned the corner into Baker Street, I nearly collided with a tall, well-dressed man walking in the other direction.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, that's quite all right, sir.
Excuse me. Aren't you Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
I am.
I'm Major Stanley.
Indeed. You're a little early for our appointment, Major Stanley. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
Dr. Watson. I am early, Mr. Holmes, and when your housekeeper told me you were still out, I decided to take a stroll.
Then let's walk back together, and perhaps you can tell me your problem as we go.
It isn't exactly my problem, Mr. Holmes. You see, I made the count to the Maharaja of Kasul.
Oh, really? It's a very interesting job, I should imagine.
Yes, it
You know,
is.
I was in India myself, Peshawar and further north. I was once attacked by...
Quite, Watson. Some other time, don't you think?
Oh, sorry, Holmes.
The Maharaja's problem would seem pressing since his emissary has been so eager to reach us. Please continue, Major Stanley.
Mr. Holmes, have you ever heard of the Star of Kasul?
A fabulously valuable diamond, isn't it?
Yes. It's the treasure of the Maharaja's collection. At
Just-
the moment, it's in the vaults of the Bank of England.
Just keep me posted. Just keep me posted. I want to see it. I can't wait.
Your problem becomes apparent, Major Stanley. When this portrait is painted, the Star of Kasul will know.
Ah, gotcha.
And you quite justify
Gotcha.
Jewel safety. Exactly, Mr. Holmes. It must be cleverly and closely guarded on its daily journey.
What are you doing, Big Rabbit? He's just a baby.
Without wishing to appear conceited, I may say that
Alright, keep looking for your clothes, your casual clothes. It's alright, keep it casual.
here we are at 221B. Come in, Major Stanley. We'll discuss the matter further if you like.
Mrs. Hudson, we're back.
Very well, Doctor. Oh, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, Mrs. Hudson?
There were two gentlemen waiting to see you. Said they had an appointment, but they've gone. Said they come back later.
Did they leave their names?
No, sir, they didn't.
That's odd. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Hi, sir.
Let's go upstairs, shall we, Major Stanley?
Very well, Doctor. Regarding your problem, Major Stanley, it occurs to me that Humphrey Pedder might be a good man to see.
Humphrey Pedder?
Yes, I'm not personally acquainted with him, but I'm told that he specializes in the,
Alright, do a lizard man now. Lizard it up. It's like that lizard forum.
I've made my decision. I can't handle the case. See Mr. Perry, if you will.
But Mr. Holmes, can't we sit down and talk about it at least? Yes,
Where literally it's a lizard RP forum, and all they do is just all they post is lizard noises.
For an excellent reason, Watson. Come inside. Look, there on the floor. Great heavens. I could hardly let the emissary of a Raja walk into a room containing a corpse, and an unclothed one at that.
Yeah, all they do is lizard noises. That's all they post. Lizard noises.
Oh, Doctor, the poor man.
Is that the face of one of the men that called here?
Aye, sir, it is.
Cover it again, Watson.
I saw the other one leave, sir. He said his friend had already left. Oh, I never dreamed
This
that...
one you saw leaving, was he carrying anything? A bundle, perhaps?
No, sir, he wasn't.
Could you describe him?
Well, he was tall and thin, and he had a
But
high
if he was
forehead.
carrying no bundle, where are the corpses' clothes? There's no sign of them in here.
What a shocking thing, sir. A murder right in your living room. Oh, will I send for the police?
Definitely not, Mrs. Hudson. And please keep this to yourself.
Aye, sir.
When a corpse is deposited on my own carpet, there's a certain point of honor in being able to present
No.
a complete explanation when I do call them in. That'll be all, Mrs. Hudson.
All right, sir.
I don't plan. Alright.
Why leave a
I'll take your word for it. If it's an okay movie, it's an okay movie.
Then how did the murderer get the clothes out of here? Mrs. Hudson said that he wasn't carrying anything.
We have many other questions to answer, old chap. The knife wound in the heart gives us no clue, I'm afraid.
No
Observe the singular
clues.
collection of objects that are lying beside the body.
Let's have a look at them. A railway ticket,
Mhm.
funny-looking compass,
and an apple that has been bitten into.
The corpse has protruding teeth. I bet you that he didn't make the bite of this apple. Holmes, these must be the murderer's tooth marks.
If you're correct, Watson, our murderer is an extraordinary man indeed.
Why do you say that?
Because if you look closely,
Yeah.
that this bite was made by two sets of upper teeth.
Gotta save that money. Gotta save that money sometimes, you know.
You're the one, no mistake, Professor Moriarty. Two sets up a teeth. Now, that was the best touch.
Yes, Carter. I must confess it was neat. Simple, of course. You start the bite with your upper teeth, reverse the apple, and conclude the bite. Yes, simple, but I trust also somewhat disconcerting for the great Sherlock Holmes. Our past encounters have given me an insight into his very unusual mind.
I'd like to have watched his face when he walked in there, Professor.
So would I. But the next 24 hours will give me little leisure, I fear. I must arrange for a certain matter concerning a change of ownership in the Star of Kasul. This should be a fascinating game.
But the old compass, the railway tickets.
Carter, with your somewhat limited cranial development, it must be hard for you to absorb the subtler points in such a plan, but surely its basic purpose is obvious. Sherlock Holmes is about to be engaged by the Maharaja to guard the jewel. I had to divert his attention, so I perpetrated an intriguing murder on his own doorstep and surrounded the corpse with meaningless and completely unrelated objects which I knew would torment his curiosity and keep him off my trail.
And that corpse would take some explaining to the police too, Professor.
Yes.
That deep voice.
I placed it there. It puts him in an acutely embarrassing position. He has to try and solve the case or become the laughing stock of London.
It's one of your neatest jobs, Professor.
Oh, I won't say that, Carter. But I'm quite sure that I've posed a problem that Sherlock Holmes will be totally unable to resist. I can't resist this problem, Watson. No fee on earth could make me bother with the safety of a mere diamond when such a puzzle presents itself.
On my soul, you talk rather as though you were settling down to a game.
What's my favorite thing to draw? Well,
This position with Scotland Yard. And just think if it got
I just can't think of it right now. What is my favorite thing to draw?
All you have to do is to find a man with two sets of false upper teeth. Very simple.
Quite.
only way such an imprint could be left is to take a half bite with the upper teeth, reverse the apple, and repeat the procedure. The only question here is, why indulge in such a bizarre performance?
Well, whatever the reason, those are the murderous tooth marks.
Unquestionably. You notice the eaten portion of the apple has only just commenced to turn brown. The bite was undoubtedly taken in this room. But to identify teeth marks is a monumental problem and might prove insoluble.
I've never seen one like it. There are no numerals on it, points, and it comes indicated anywhere. It's a lot of funny little...
Surely you recall...
Let's think. What's my least favorite thing to draw?
My dear Watson, sometimes you astound me.
Well, it seems to me it takes very little to astound you.
The principal Christian race descended from ancient Egyptian stock.
My least favorite thing to draw is character sheets. My most favorite thing to draw are breasts.
An apple bitten into by an eccentric, and now a compass with ancient Egyptian lettering on it. I just can't see any relation between the two of them.
And yet we know there must be. That's what makes the problem so fascinating.
Well, what does the compass tell you, Holmes?
Two things. The Coptic lettering on the dial is inscribed by hand. Obviously, it was constructed for a Copt who could speak no European language.
Yet the Copt is
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
not too far away from the
I mean, I like drawing dragons. I love drawing dragons. I just wish I was better at it. If only I could draw dragons so much better, so much more fantastical.
And the date stamped on the back is November the 6th.
Today?
Yes, Watson, today. Chipping Sodbury is a tiny village. I imagine that the...
On the Metopia. What Robin shirt color? Katie shirt color. Red and green. Red and green.
I suggest that you keep your revolver handy.
My revolver? You mean...
I mean that after what has happened in one short morning in Baker Street, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
In just a moment, we'll see just what eventualities do develop. But first, if you're smart, you'll take better care of the hair you've got. Let me assure you, men, you can't use a better product than Kreml hair tonic.
Yeah, man.
It's highly specialized hair tonic.
Yeah,
It's a
men.
combination of hair grooming ingredients which no other hair tonic has. That is why Kreml keeps your hair in place longer. Why your hair always has such a natural, well-groomed appearance, never greasy or sticky. And listen carefully to this, man. Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. A quick massage with Kreml stimulates the circulation of blood right in the surface of the scalp. Notice how alive, how invigorated, how clean your scalp feels. At the same time,
Leg day.
and if your hair is so dry that it breaks and falls, Kreml actually helps condition the hair by making it feel softer, more pliable. So men, why be satisfied with a product which merely keeps your hair in place when you can have handsomely groomed hair plus all those extra advantages of Kreml? Buy a bottle as soon as possible at any drug counter. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in, Masaladov. You're amazing and stay amazing. Or try. You know, it's difficult out there. But I believe in you. I believe in you.
While I stood guard in Baker Street over the mysterious corpse, Holmes got the next train to the tiny village of Chipping Sodbury. He told me that after a talk with the village station master, he had no trouble in tracing the purchaser of the first-class railway ticket that we'd found beside the body. It had been bought by a dignified and elderly clergyman by the name of Russell, and Holmes lost no time in...
The station master told me, sir, that you were the only person to purchase a return first-class ticket to London this morning.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I had occasion to make one of my rare excursions to London this morning. But though it was an unfortunate experience for me, I can't think my humble visit to the city could be a matter of any possible interest to you.
I'm very interested in what happened to the return half of your railway ticket, sir.
Very odd you should mention that. A regrettable business. Most regrettable. It was stolen from me by a pickpocket, together with my watch and chain. Didn't notice it until I had occasion to look at the time
when I was lunching with the Bishop of St. Luke's.
You've no idea when or where the theft took place, sir?
I walked from the station. The crowds were quite dense, and I do recall being jostled rather heavily on one occasion.
You reported your loss to the police, I suppose.
Naturally. But I have little hope that they'll catch the criminal. Looks
Right.
like a creditable business. Cost me a watch and the price of another ticket. An expensive lesson in the frailty of human nature.
Yep.
Do you care for a cup of tea, Mr. Holmes?
No, thank you. I'm afraid I haven't time. I must return to London on the next train. Urgent and unfinished business awaits me there.
We followed Sherlock Holmes to Paddington Station, Professor Moriarty.
Excellent. He caught the train for Chipping Sudbury, no doubt, Carter.
Oh, yes, Professor. Fat Robin Hood, that'll do him, even if he does find the old clergyman we pinched the stuff from.
But it consumed valuable time. Time during which I can complete our plans regarding the Star of Kersul. Before midnight tonight, I think I can safely say that the jewel will be in our hands. How very fortunate that Sherlock Holmes has such a devouring curiosity.
Any luck, Holmes?
A waste of valuable time, Watson. I found the purchase of the ticket all right. The return half, together with his watch,
Yeah.
was stolen by a pickpocket.
Oh, Lord, so that means we start all over again.
No, Watson. At least one clue has been eliminated. Let us analyze the remaining...
Hands are difficult. Agreed. Just remember the triangle method that I use.
While you were away, I had a brainwave.
Congratulations.
It was connected with the missing clothes from the corpse. Where, I asked myself, where would be the obvious place to hide clothes? Why, in the clothes closet, of course. So I searched both our wardrobes absolutely thoroughly. They weren't there.
Interesting, Watson. Of course, I'd already done the same thing.
Oh,
The problem with the missing...
Aww.
Numbskull.
Yes, Holmes?
Why didn't I think of it before?
What is it, Holmes?
The special wardrobe that I keep for my disguises, in the dressing room. Come on, Watson.
By Jove, yes, I never thought of that.
Perfect place for hiding the dead man's clothes. Let's see if there have been any recent additions to this raggedy collection of mine. Costa's outfit.
And there's a clergyman's suit. You always made a surprisingly convincing clergyman, Holmes.
And here's the unfailing passport to many a servant's back door. The stained and roughened worsteds of the English plumber. Yes, these patched and frayed ghosts could tell many a tale of... Hello.
Hello. What's this? Hello there.
White. And it doesn't belong in my collection. I think we've solved the mystery of the vanishing clothes.
The labels have been ripped out of the coat.
Yes, and the pockets emptied. All possible identification removed. We're getting warm, Watson. We're getting very warm. Wait a minute.
What is it?
Give me a knife.
All right, sure.
There's something in the lining of this coat. Feels like paper. Perhaps the murderer didn't remove all identification after all.
Here you are. These scissors will do the trick.
Splendid. There we are.
General Kenobi. General Kenobi. Yes, yes. I do love that meme. It make me laugh.
118 Montague Crescent, Knights.
Talking about earlier on today. You suppose that Pedder's the corpse?
At this stage, Watson, I shall suppose nothing. We'll go to Montague Crescent and find out for ourselves.
Mr. Pedder, I can't say how glad I am that we found you alive.
Let's see. Let's see. Drawberry.
Is it your custom to have an extra identification label sewn into all your clothes, Mr. Pedder?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. A detective never knows what...
Yeah, that would be cute. That would be very cute, Drawberry. That would be very cute. I love it.
And I can't unearth a clue. Embarrassing situation for a detective, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, it certainly is.
Though I'm sure in your position, you've never had anything like that happen to you.
I doubt, Mr. Pedder, if you know just how embarrassing a detective's life may become.
Yes, indeed. Take our present situation, for instance.
Quite, Watson. Mr. Pedder, Did Major Stanley call on you today? I suggested that you would be eminently suited to the task of guarding the Maharaja's diamond.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I'm going over to the Savoy tonight to talk to the Maharaja. Much obliged to you for giving me the recommendation, particularly since I've never had the privilege of meeting you.
I'd heard very flattering reports of your ability.
I'm very glad, Mr. Holmes. Your recommendation means a lot to me.
Well, Holmes, we've drawn another blank.
Yes, Watson. I fear we must return to Baker Street and see if an ancient compass can point the way to the solution.
Yeah. That's okay. No, they look good.
Where to, sir? The Egyptian embassy in Grosvenor
Oh,
Square.
well, sometimes that's life. Sometimes your lizards just look like ducks.
If the excursion proves fruitless, Watson, I'm afraid I shall be compelled to get in touch with Scotland Yard. A few hours' delay in reporting a murder can be explained, but beyond that, we may find ourselves...
I think you should have reported it before this. By the way, Holmes, did you notice the brougham and pair that drove up to Pedder's house just as we left?
I'm afraid for once I was sufficiently preoccupied to yield to you in observation, my dear Watson.
I'm not certain, but I thought it was Major Stanley who stepped out of it.
Major Stanley? Yet Mr. Pedder said that... But of course! What an idiot I've been! Cabby! Cabby!
Yes, sir?
Turn around and drive us to the Savoy Hotel as fast as you can.
Looks like a duck face. Whoops. Oops.
About as clear as porridge to me. The whole thing's a plot to fool me. Tell me, Watson, what is suggested to you by the combination of an unclothed corpse, a stolen suit, and a railroad ticket?
Well, if I knew the answer, Holmes, I'd have given it to you this morning and saved ourselves a lot of trouble.
The answer, Watson, is organization. A group of well-organized criminals who are able to perform these unrelated tasks. And who is the only person in London who can arrange for running the criminal gamut from murder to plain pickpocketing? Moriarty.
Professor Moriarty?
Of course. Remember Mrs. Hudson's description of our visitor? Tall, thin, and with a high forehead. And if you add organization and Moriarty to Major Stanley, the Maharaja of Kursul, and a portrait painter, the sum total should be apparent.
You mean that you've solved the problem of the unclothed corpse?
I mean I know precisely how Professor Moriarty intends to steal the Star of Kursul. Faster, cabby. There's not a moment to lose.
Yeah, look at that. I love that. That's good.
At least it explains my apparent rudeness this morning.
Yeah, of course I like the clothes you sent me.
Yes, indeed.
I like them. They're cute. They're very cute. They're adorable.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. But your own problem still fascinates me. The unclothed corpse, the compass, and the app. As a humble exponent of your profession, I'm curious to see how you arrived at your conclusion.
I reached them only
How you thought your conclusions meant anything.
paying a fruitless visit to the Egyptian embassy.
Well, I'm still confused, Holmes.
And yet the answer is simple. What was outstanding about the crime committed at Baker Street? What was its individual peculiarity?
Well, I suppose the air of mystery surrounded it.
I prefer to use the word mystification. The crime fascinated me, stimulated me, as Professor Moriarty hoped it would, until I realized that it was intended to do precisely that. The whole plan was a decoy, designed to
Decoy.
your mission, Major Stanley. How could I accept such a commonplace job as guarding a jewel while such a fascinating problem was presented in my own living room?
And the apple and the compass were...
Fictional clues that led nowhere, but were sufficiently challenging for the criminal to know I wouldn't be able to resist tracking him down.
Amazing plot. When the railway ticket and the suit of clothes that was stolen from me were all meant to focus your attention elsewhere and away from the diamond.
Exactly, Mr. Pedder.
Well, Mr. Holmes, I assure you we're very grateful for the warning.
Yes. We shall be more than ever on our guard now. We know where the danger's coming from. Professor Moriarty. I'm taking the Star of Kursul back to the Bank of England in a few minutes. I assure you that I shall guard it extremely well.
I think, Mr. Pedder, that if you don't mind, I'll take charge of the stone.
But, Mr. Holmes, I've already been commissioned for the work.
That's true, Mr. Holmes. Since you refused the job, I had to make other arrangements. Mr. Pedder, was your own suggestion for the assignment.
Nonetheless, Major, I think the Maharaja will sleep much more comfortably if I take charge of the stone.
Holmes, I don't think that's very ethical. After all, you did refuse to take on the case, you know.
This is hardly a time for ethics, Watson. Where is the Star of Kursul, Major Stanley?
I just handed it over to Mr. Pedder before you arrived.
Then supposing you give it to me, Mr. Pedder. By the way, I don't have the pleasure of knowing your real name.
But Holmes, he's Humphrey Pedder.
Oh, no, Watson.
The unclothed corpse of Humphrey Pepper still lies in Baker Street. This is one of Professor Moriarty's most trusted henchmen.
You're too smart for your own good. Look out, he's got a revolver.
A little slow in drawing it.
A beautiful uppercut, Holmes.
Send for the police, please.
Yeah, Holmes. Yeah, get them. Depending on their age. By the way, you can make them thick if you want.
Magnificent. And yet one man was murdered for it. I only wish.
Aw, thank you. Have a great time and enjoy yourself.
We'll catch him, Watson. We'll catch him.
Well, talk to you later. Everybody, give a good goodbye to the incomparable Evaporate. Hold up.
Moriarty inspires his henchmen with such loyalty that I doubt it needs much help. The jewel is safe. Our own peculiar problem is solved. And we've captured a prize villain. Next time, we shall capture the master himself.
There you go. Get some rest.
Did you, Dr. Watson?
Get ready for your day, man.
Professor Moriarty, the master himself?
Now, Mr. Bell, haven't you got a word for our listeners?
Yes, I have. In just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week.
No, you're okay. No.
Girls, here's some advice from one of the
Yeah, girls.
John Robert Powers. Mr. Powers
Yeah,
tells his
motherfucking Powers will tell you what the fuck is happening over here.
And how right Mr. Powers is. Because Kreml shampoo has been especially developed to glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair to its own natural, glossy luster.
You goddamn right it does.
Just a vision of beauty.
You know, Kreml shampoo is great for washing children's hair, too.
Washing.
Scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt. Kreml shampoo.
See ya.
So, ladies,
Goodbye.
see how easy it is to glamour bathe your hair.
Goodbye.
Kreml. Kreml shampoo.
Only around those they can be thick. They can be thick. Look, I like my ladies like I like my malts. Thick.
Who had the misfortune of being a kleptomaniac. And the story also concerns the strange, and I must admit, embarrassing adventure of the elusive emerald.
Oh shit. The elusive emerald, not the regular emeralds. Kind of weird, isn't it? What's weird?
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story.
What weird? What's weird? The duck face? No, you'll get there.
Courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo. And inviting you to be with us next week at this same time.
Duck lizard hybrid? Okay, well, I don't think it's weird. Well, I'd have to see it. I can do whatever I want with those two OCs. Whatever I want. Undo. Yeah.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes.
Alright, you sent me it? Alright. Let's see it.
I'm sure he's waiting for us in his study, so let's join him there, shall we?
Oh, Lizardman. Lizardman. Oh my god. It's a Lizardman. Lol. I like it. It's alright.
I'll get on with tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure.
From the hint last week, it sounded like quite a story.
It is one that I
Ugh.
generate. For once, I played a rather a rather dashing role in the case.
Oh?
And I have this small gold key on my watch chain to remind me of the fact.
A gold key? Given to you perhaps by a lady, Dr. Watson?
It was given me, my boy, by Her Grace, the Dowager Duchess of Penfield.
In gratitude for services rendered, I suppose.
No. Not by the wildest stretch of the imagination could you say that. Let's say that it's a memento of one of the most unusual experiences that the great Sherlock Holmes and I ever had. I call it the adventure of the elusive emerald.
Sounds intriguing, Dr. Watson. But first of all, do you mind if...
If you have a word with our listeners? Oh, of course not, Mr. Bell.
Most every man today who takes pride in his appearance uses something to keep his hair neatly groomed.
Uh-huh.
And how does the preparation you use measure up to this test? Look in the mirror. Has your hair that old-fashioned, greasy, patent leather look? Now run your hand back over your hair. Does your hair feel greasy, sticky, or dirty? If it does, then be smart, men. Change to Kreml hair tonic.
Be smart, men. Figure it out.
Found in no other hair tonic. That's why Kreml keeps your hair in place longer, with such a handsome, well-groomed look. When you use Kreml, you can run your hand back over your hair, and men, it's really a pleasure. No grease comes off from your hand. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the way Kreml always looks and feels so clean on your hair and scalp. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Let it keep your hair looking handsome at all times. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how's about the adventure of the elusive emerald?
Well, Mr. Bell, the story began on a cold winter evening. Well, no, it wasn't, actually. It was in the morning, more years ago than I care to remember. Holmes and I, our breakfast just concluded, sat on either side of a cheery fire in our Baker Street lodging. A thick fog rolled down between the houses.
Thick.
The windows opposite looked like dark, shapeless blurs through the heavy yellow murk.
A London pea super, eh, Dr. Watson?
Yes, it was, Mr. Bell. Our gas was lit and shone its flickering light on the white cloth and glimmer of china for the breakfast table not yet
Ooh, stop it. Stop it, I'm so tired.
Ushered into our room, Lord Morris Danby, a middle-aged man who seemed to be in a state of great excitement.
Mr. Holmes, you must help me. I'll do my best, Lord Danby. What's your problem? Well, and this is hard to say, gentlemen. It's connected with my mother, the Duchess of Penfield.
Oh, so you're the Duchess of Penfield, son. That's a charming woman. I met her at a house party at the Smythe Parkinson's in Shropshire a few years ago. At the time, she was kind enough to tell me...
Watson, don't you think your reminiscences might be more appropriate at some other time?
Well, I was only pointing out...
Quite. Pray continue, Lord Danby.
Well, here's the problem in a nutshell. My brother, the present Duke, is with his regiment in India. During his absence, all the responsibilities of the Penfield family have fallen on my unhappy shoulders. For a year now, I've been driven nearly insane by my nephew, Hilary. The boy is 18, and his madcap escapades have caused me many a sleepless night. But now comes the crowning blow. My mother, my own mother, has turned thief.
Dowager Duchess of Penfield, a thief. Oh, come, sir, you must be mistaken.
Would I make such a shocking statement, Doctor, unless I was sure? I repeat, she's a shoplifter, a pickpocket, a disgrace to our family.
Since monetary considerations are surely not involved, I can only assume that Her Grace is a victim of that unfortunate affliction known as kleptomania.
She is, Mr. Holmes. But how can I explain that to shopkeepers? To friends of the family when Mother decides to pocket some valuable memento of a weekend house party. And though it's petty theft today, tomorrow it may develop into more serious criminality. Mr. Holmes, you must help me find some way out of this intolerable situation. I'll pay you any fee you name if you can find...
What on earth's the commotion downstairs?
Well, I see what's wrong, Holmes.
Go back to your kitchen. Mind your own business, you stupid woman.
It's Mother. She must have followed me
Oh,
here.
Grace, how delightful to see you again.
Again? Who are you?
Oh, don't you remember? We met at the Smythe Parkinson's a few years ago.
Never saw you before in all my life.
In Shropshire. Fancy those fall, you know.
Rubbish. Get out of my way. Morris.
Yes, Mother?
Get out of here at once. This is a matter for your elders. Do you hear me? Mama. Get out, you old... And when you get home, wait in the blue room for me. I shall attend to you later.
Your Grace, I suggest that
Keep your suggestions to yourself, young man.
Well, really, I do feel...
And you be quiet, too.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Duchess. I was only good...
Can't understand a word you say.
Oh, really?
No. Now then, which one of you is Sherlock Holmes?
I am. And
Why did that idiot son of mine come to see you?
I fear that professional ethics prevent me from...
Professional fiddlesticks. You don't need to hem and haw with me. I suppose Morris told you that I was a kleptomaniac.
I'm afraid that I can't...
Nothing to be afraid of. Either of you care for a pinch of snuff?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Can't understand anyone who doesn't appreciate snuff.
Yep.
That's much better now. Now then, listen to me, both of you. This story that my son undoubtedly told you about my being a kleptomaniac is an unadulterated lie. My children's plot to get hold of my money. They're always after me for that, especially that grandson of mine. And I'm sure he's inveigled my son Morris into a scheme, and now they're planning to have me declared incompetent.
What a
I don't need any comment. Just listen to me. Now, how much did Morris offer you as a retainer, Mr. Holmes?
I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to say
I'll
anything...
double the fee and trouble you both to hear no more of it. That's all. Good day to you.
I'll see you downstairs, Your Grace.
You needn't bother. I may be a grandmother, but I can still walk up and down stairs by myself, thank you.
What a magnificent woman.
Yes. Quite remarkable, isn't she?
I think she didn't remember meeting me at the Smythe Parkinson's, though.
Quite.
Luckily, we weren't taken in by the son's story, wasn't it, Holmes?
I'm not sure. Watson, you recall that jeweled snuff box I received in this morning's post? It was a token from the King of Morania.
Yes, you put it on the mantelpiece. Good Lord, it's vanished.
Precisely. The Dowager Duchess of Penfield is so brilliant a kleptomaniac that she has achieved an unnoticed theft at 221B Baker Street.
Well, of all the amazing nerve.
Watson, we've met a worthy antagonist.
Black Armor is always cool, so it's just hard to do. You're going to be living in a highlight land with Black Armor. And remember, don't make it completely obsidian black. You gotta make it so it's can be seen and whatnot. You know what I mean?
I was anxious to observe her technique.
Well, she's obviously had plenty of practice.
Yes. She's spent about £100 in this shopping tour so far, and yet she's succeeded in obtaining some £500 worth of goods. Brilliant work.
Look. A small man in the bowler hat stopping her.
The shop detective, no doubt. Come on, Watson.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but there it is.
What utter balderdash are you talking?
I must ask you to come and see the manager.
Can I be of any assistance, Your Grace?
Huh? Oh, it's Holmes and his friends. Yes, you can tell this idiot to stop bothering
Well,
me.
what seems to be the matter?
I saw this here lady pick up a silver matchbox and slip it into her handbag.
Fiddlesticks. I examined it, yes. But if it's missing, this man was standing near me. Search him.
Search Holmes, but that's ridiculous.
Of course it is. Ma'am, I must ask
I
you
am the Dowager Duchess of Penfield. Now search this man.
Yes, Your Grace.
Insufferable insolence.
Your Grace, I must ask you...
No, you don't. You stand here. I'm going to search you.
This is ridiculous, my good man.
Because it is.
If you didn't take it, you got nothing to be frightened about. Hello. What's this in your coat pocket?
Great Scott, Holmes. It's a silver matchbox.
Quite.
Come on, mister. You've got to explain this to the manager.
Oh, damn. Hot damn.
Mr. Holmes, I'm very embarrassed that my man brought you here. That's quite all right, sir. It was a perfectly understandable mistake.
Yes, but you must realize that this unfortunate habit of the Duchess's must be kept a secret.
Quite sure, Dr. Watson. And I think the program you've outlined will prove a most satisfactory way of handling any such incidents in the future. You follow my plan quite clearly?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes. We'll have our shop detectives watching her whenever she comes in. Anything she doesn't pay for, we're charged to her account as though they were purchasing.
Precisely. In that way, your shop will sustain no loss, and the Penfield family will be spared public scandal. Yes, a very satisfactory way.
A very satisfactory... It would be different. It would be different to get chased by it. I'd be confused more than afraid. A little bit more darker.
Come along, my boy. I know Mr. Holmes is a busy man. Good day, gentlemen. Good day.
Very well, Lord Dandian.
I mean, I can drawing something scary, I mean, if you're going for fear factor, big and intimidating.
Studying the social section of today's Times. Look at the item I ringed in blue pencil.
It's not a bad choice.
Polish nobleman Count Stephen von Kratzoff is holding a reception at this Grosvenor Square house tomorrow afternoon, at which time the famous Kratzoff emerald will be displayed.
Skim through the list of guests, Watson. I think one name will interest you.
Mrs. Martin, Lord Leninovic. By George, the Dowager Duchess of Penfield.
Exactly. And the combination of the finest emerald in Europe and the Duchess of Penfield means that this is one reception we must not miss.
Where's your friend, Sherlock Holmes?
He's over there talking to Count Kratzoff, Your Grace.
You and your friend have been following her since yesterday, haven't you, young man?
No, of course not. We wouldn't dream of such a thing.
Fiddlesticks. I know you have. Well, by the way, you said we'd met before somewhere. Where was it?
At the Spy Parkinson's in Shropshire. At a fancy dress down.
You're the Parkinsons. Don't remember you.
I was wearing a Pierrot's costume.
Oh, really? How very original. What was I wearing?
Something in blue. Blue velvet, I think it was. You had a white wig, I remember. You looked enchanting.
It wasn't a wig. It was my own hair. My own hairstyle. And it wasn't velvet, it was tulle. And the dress was red, not blue. However, I'm flattered that you remembered me. Good night, young man.
Good night, Duchess.
Oh, good night, Count von...
Young.
Good
night, my dear Duchess. I'm so
Yeah, quote unquote, young.
Good night, young man.
Most successful evening, Count von Kratzoff.
I am flattered that so many distinguished guests were present, Dr. Watson. You were very quiet this evening, Mr. Holmes. I was watching, Count. My eyes hardly left the emerald during the entire evening. I imagine that you had some professional reason for attending. Jameson was mostly...
I know Warhammer, yes. Why, what's up? I know Warhammer. I've got an army. I've got an army of chaos. And I have an army of orcs from 40k. So I've got both. What's up?
What a beautiful gem.
It is considered one of the finest... Mr. Holmes, what is your opinion? That you've been robbed, Count von Kratzoff?
Robbed?
Yes, this is
I know.
paste replica. The Kratzoff emerald has...
I have so much Warhammer.
Just a moment, we will join Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson as they try to solve the mystery of the elusive emerald. Men, it's smart to take care of the hair you've got.
On Death Guard? I mean, Death Guard... The opinion on Death Guard is that they exist.
Combination of hair grooming ingredients found in
I'll draw them when I draw them. I don't know. I've got a lot of projects this week, so I'll draw them eventually. Why? What's up?
But men, Kreml does lots more than
I will draw them. It will be nice. Don't you worry. I know you're excited. You're like, you draw so well.
And men, you like to rub Kreml on your scalp because it's such a clean hair tonic. Never feels greasy or sticky. It's like
I mean, as far as I've heard.
Scalp too. At the same time, it removes loose dandruff. And if
Okay.
so dry that it breaks and falls.
Am I getting it right?
In that it makes it
Is it Death Guard?
So men, for a cleaner scalp,
The
change to
with the black armor, with the silver on the side, in 40k.
So, Dr. Watson, the famous emerald had been replaced by a paste replica.
All right, school is coming up.
Sherlock Holmes to deduce that the Dowager Duchess was the culprit.
Elementary, my dear.
School is coming up.
Police arrived on the scene. Holmes gave
It's gonna be sad. You're gonna have to go back to school.
When we returned to Baker Street, I don't think either of us were in the least bit surprised to find that Lord Danby was waiting for us. In a state of great agitation.
Mr. Holmes, you've helped me so far. You've got to find some way out of this mess.
You...
Ah.
Since the loss was discovered?
Yes.
He came over to see me.
I know.
We're neighbors, you know. What did he say, sir? That for the sum of 25
Infected
pounds,
Spikes Marines.
Indeed. And why should Count von Kratzoff assume that your mother was responsible for the theft?
I'm afraid he must have heard rumors of her unfortunate habits.
Do you propose to make the settlement, Lord Danby?
The estate can't afford it, Doctor. Dear me, what will my brother the Duke say when he returns from India? What am I to do, Mr. Holmes?
Your problem has many more ramifications than I imagined when you first called on me, Lord Danby. I think if you'll allow me a few hours' grace, I can give you a surprisingly satisfactory solution to your dilemma.
I'll be eternally grateful if you can.
How do you propose to do it, Holmes?
The first step is obvious. To find the jeweler who made the paste replica. Unless I'm much mistaken, there's only one jeweler in London capable of such an exquisite piece of craftsmanship. We shall call on him, Watson. We shall call on him at once.
We shall call on him, Watson. No, I know. I get that you want to see it. I understand. The infected Spikes Marines. Ah, yes. So fun.
It was one of a pair of duplicates that were ordered.
I do know Nurgle from both 40K and Fantasy.
Of course not, Dr. Watson. I was told that they were for a collection of replicas of famous stones, and I was paid handsomely. 25 guineas apiece for them, yes.
A small stake for so large a prize.
Could you describe the woman who gave you the order?
Woman, Doctor? It was a man. A young man.
Man? But,
Yes.
Holmes, she must have an accomplice.
I think not, Watson. Though the train of thought suggested is certainly an astonishing one. However, our next move should be obvious.
Oh? What's that?
We return to Baker Street for certain necessary tools of my trade. And then, my dear fellow, we pay an unannounced visit to the Dowager Duchess and try our hands at a little burglary.
Is that you?
Yes, Watson. I hope you're not too cold.
Oh, I'm frozen to death. Cowering here in these bushes under the Duchess's window. You must have been gone for 3/4 of an hour.
I mean, they're pretty large. That's 8 feet. That's 8 feet tall, man.
And yet this stupid moustache inspired great confidence in the second chambermaid. Under the impression that I was a flirtatious plumber with prospects, she informed me that the Duchess has a small room leading off the boudoir. A room that none of the staff is allowed to enter.
You think that that's where her hoard of stolen goods may be situated?
It's worth trying, old chap. A stout coil of rope attached to the balcony above should enable us to make an unobtrusive entry.
Well, splendid. Where do we find a stout coil of rope?
Even a pseudo-plumber has his tools. You don't imagine this bag contains a pipe wrench or some such useless appurtenance, do you? Look.
Great Scott. A coil of rope.
Exactly. Now let's see how best we may secure it to the balcony above. But we must work quietly, Watson. I discovered, I'm afraid, this is going to be a trifle hard to explain.
Just a trifle. Not too hard. Not too hard to explain, but just a trifle. Just a little bit.
Ropes, Holmes. I realize I'm not as young as I used to be.
I thought you were surprisingly nimble, my dear Watson.
Oh, I don't like this. Supposing somebody discovers us burning the Duchess's house and calls the police. Then what?
We shall probably go to prison. Strike a match, will you?
Right? But I still don't like it.
I like this layer. There we are.
So this is the room where the servants are not allowed, eh?
The Duchess would,
Ah.
This wall safe gives us the answer.
Locked, of course.
Yes, but the safe's old-fashioned. Unless I'm much mistaken, the combination is
All right.
a simple one.
Alright, add a story.
It is. There we are.
He's stronger than a space marine, but 5 space marines, which is normally a unit of space marines, of elite space marines, they can take him down.
There's Count von Kratzoff's emerald.
Yes, Watson. You take charge of that, too. The rest of this collection doesn't concern us.
I think there's someone in the other room. Quick, down the rope.
Give me a hand off this window ledge.
Oh, hurry, Holmes. It's the Duchess. Follow me as fast as you can.
Who is it? Who is it? Where's my word? Where's that young Dr. Watson?
That's right. That's young
How on earth did you get here?
I get here. got here through the window.
Well, imagine that.
I climbed up a rope to your balcony, Your Grace.
You climbed up a rope? My dear boy, you took that risk from me. Oh, you impetuous boy.
Who, me? Oh, no, Your Grace.
No, not a word, my dear boy. I know how you feel. I realized it tonight when you spoke of the grey chiffon dress I wore at my Parkinson ball.
You don't understand.
I understand only too well. Oh, but you...
No, he's not.
Think of my family, my grandchildren, my reputation.
Are you bulletproof? No. It's... With some orcs.
My dear boy, now you must go.
Yes, I certainly must. Good night.
Good night, you foolish boy.
Foolish boy.
God, Holmes will be furious. Holmes!
What happened?
Holmes, she thought I was there to see her.
Hope springs eternal, eh?
See her? No, but you kissed me, Holmes.
A martyr to our cause, Watson. Well, it's been a most successful evening. Case is solved, and I imagine it's still quite early. What time is it?
Well, it's, Holmes.
What's wrong?
Great Scott, when the Duchess kissed me, she stole my watch.
Funny. Durga.
That's why I asked you and Count von Kratzoff and your nephew.
Ah.
Where's my emerald? Here it is, Count von Kratzoff. How did you make the old girl give it back? I bet it made her furious.
Supposing you let my friend explain in his own good time, young man.
Here is the replica, Count, and here's the real emerald. You will, of course, identify the stone. Yes, of course. Splendid. Then I'm sure you have no objection to signing this document I prepared. It relieves the Duchess's family of all responsibility. Please sign it here.
Very well, Mr. Holmes. There.
Thank you, Count. And now, Lord Danby, I shall present this paper to you.
I'm tremendously grateful, Mr. Holmes, but I'm utterly confused.
Then let me clarify the situation for you. I have another visitor here tonight. Please come in, won't you?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. Lord, it's that Fuller fellow.
Now, Mr. Marcus, please point out the person who ordered the two paste replicas from you.
It was that young man there.
Me? But I've never seen you before in my life.
He was the man, Mr. Holmes.
You mean that my...
I mean, Lord Danby, that the whole theft was part of an extremely cunning plot. Count von Kratzoff, you joined forces with young Hilary here. You displayed a paste replica at your reception and tempted the Duchess to steal it.
Which she did, and then the Count substituted the second replica in place of the one that she'd taken.
Precisely. And insisted that I examine the stone, knowing that I'd spotted it was a fake. And then Count von Kratzoff attempted to persuade the family to settle for £20,000.
For the theft of a paste imitation. Well, Count, it looks as though Sherlock Holmes was too smart for us.
You're a fool, Hilary. Admit nothing.
A confession is not needed since the guilt is proven.
But where's the real emerald?
I'm quite certain it's still safe in Poland. The whole plot was perfectly clear to me when Mr. Marcus told me of the pair of duplicates.
Yes, a kleptomaniac could hardly indulge in such an elaborate plan.
Nor would one work with an accomplice. Well, Lord Danby, what do you say?
I'm shocked. Deeply shocked. My nephew I shall deal with separately, of course. Don't look so grumpy, Uncle. I was only trying to get a little money. Granny wouldn't give me any.
The Count von Kratzoff. You can be prosecuted for fraud and extortion, you know.
Only by involving the Penfield family in a great deal of scandal, I assure you, Mr. Holmes.
What do you say, Lord Danby? Do you intend to prosecute?
The Count's right. This scandal would be unbearable.
Then I suggest we merely request Count von Kratzoff's immediate departure for Poland.
I don't want to stop you, my good woman. I'm going upstairs.
It's Mother. It's Granny.
It's the Duchess. Oh, Lord.
My word. I came here to talk to Dr. Watson, and I find his room knee-deep with my relatives. Now get out of this room, all of you. Now, no argument.
My first humanoid creature is soon to be finished. Oh, goodness. I believe in you.
Mr. Holmes, I want to speak to Dr. Watson alone.
Very well, Your Grace.
Holmes, don't leave me.
Well, that's extremely ungallant of you, Doctor.
Your Grace, you can speak freely, perfectly freely, in front of Mr. Holmes here.
My word. How extremely disappointing. Well, young man, I realize that I was cruel and heartless to you last night. Here, there's your watch.
Your Grace, what's this gold key on the chain?
That's a key to my private conservatory in the garden. Yes, a man of your weight has no business climbing ropes. Good day, Mr. Holmes.
Goodbye, Your Grace.
Dr. Watson.
Yes, Your Grace?
I looked through my wardrobe after you left last night. I found that dress I wore at the Smythe Parkinson. It was green. Bottle green net.
Watson, my dear fellow, you've made a conquest. A distinct conquest.
Folks more embarrassed than the life. A gold key, indeed. You know, Holmes, though the case is over, I think Count von Kravtsov should be taught a lesson. Undoubtedly, he led that young fellow astray, even though Lord Danby doesn't want to prosecute. I'm not sure that we shouldn't.
What evidence would we use?
Rebecca Emerald, of course.
You seem to forget that the Dowager Duchess of Penfield has just left the room.
What? You mean she stole it again?
Yes, Watson. I'm sure that our evidence will shortly be reposing in that small room of her boudoir. And I have a strong feeling that not even your love for British justice will get you there again.
Before Dr. Watson gives us a hint about next week's story, girls, those famous million-dollar Powers models you see on magazine covers always have to keep their hair shining bright with highlights. Now, here's how they do it.
We glamour bathe our hair with Kreml shampoo. And ladies, I must say, Kreml shampoo brings out all the hair's natural glossy luster and sheen, more than you may dream ever possible. It leaves the hair simply radiant.
And Kreml shampoo is one shampoo you can buy today that doesn't dry the hair. In fact, it has a beneficial oil base which actually helps keep the hair from becoming dry.
Yes, and Kreml shampoo leaves the hair so much softer, silkier, and holds a wave better.
Ladies, buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo at any drug counter. See how easy it is to glamour bathe your hair to a vision of beauty. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. And remember, a bottle of Kreml hair tonic makes a fine addition to that Christmas stocking. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now, next week, Mr. Bell, I shall tell you a strange adventure in which Sherlock Holmes and I fought a losing battle to prevent the murder of a man who, curiously enough, was already on his deathbed.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Musgrave Ritual. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time, when Dr. Watson will tell us about the adventure of the Grand Old Man. ABC, the American Broadcasting Company. Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now it's time to keep that weekly appointment with our good friend and host, Dr. Watson. Let's join him, shall we? Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. As usual, you're punctual to the minute.
Naturally, when I have an appointment with my favorite...
How about Cantu?
And make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
We'll go with Cantu. How about that?
With tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure, Dr. Watson?
Yes, my boy, I was going over my notes on the case before you arrived. I came across this old theater program. I think it will interest you.
Garrick Theater, Sir Basil Wentworth in a revival of Martin Reeves' famous play, The Road is Narrow. A production that you and the great
Spelled CANTOO.
I had to read him in school, Dr. Watson.
Rather out of fashion now, like so many other good things. But in the 1890s, apart from Lord Tennyson, there wasn't a more famous writer in England, or a more respected one. The story I'm going to tell you tonight, Mr. Bell, concerns the horrible circumstances surrounding his death.
Sounds like a mighty intriguing Sherlock Holmes adventure. But before you begin, Dr. Watson, do you mind if I...
You have your little talk? No, of course not, Mr. Bell.
Men, well-groomed hair helps so much in giving a man that prosperous, successful appearance. And I'm sure you want to know why Kreml hair tonic is preferred among America's top flight executives. Kreml never plasters the hair down with sticky goo, which makes your hair and scalp feel so dirty. It never gives hair that old-fashioned, greasy, patent leather look. You see, Kreml is a very highly specialized hair tonic. It contains a unique and utterly different combination of hair grooming ingredients that's never been duplicated in any other hair tonic. That's why Kreml keeps unruly hair so neatly in place longer, with such a handsome, healthy-looking luster. What I especially like about Kreml is that...
Those gals love that handsome look.
...sticky or dirty. No greasy film comes off in your hand. Yet Kreml keeps...
You get them gals looking at you.
Always looking so healthy.
All right, go on. Show it.
Kreml hair tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, what about the singular death of Martin Reed?
Well, Mr. Bell, that adventure began late on a foggy evening many, many years ago. Sherlock Holmes and I had been to the Garrick Theatre to see the revival of Martin Reed's play. And I remember that we decided to walk home to Baker Street. As we approached the old familiar door of 221B, our footsteps echoed hollowly in the deserted street, and the chimes of a neighboring church reminded us of the fact that it was midnight.
A delightful evening, Watson. A good dinner, an excellent bottle of wine, and 3 hours of theatrical magic.
Well, personally, I found the play rather depressing.
Its theme is a morbid one, but the writing and construction are flawless. Yes, a magnificent play and well worth reviving. By the way, I noticed an item in the Times this morning concerning Martin Reed. He's dangerously ill.
Oh, really? Well, he must be quite an old man.
82, to be precise.
Really, is he as old as that?
Curious career, Watson. His greatest success was written when he was a young man. In the past 50 years, he has never written anything to compare with tonight's play.
No, I don't think it... Holmes, look up at our window.
Hello. The gas is brightly lighted, whereas Mrs. Hudson invariably turns it low when we're out. And look at the silhouette on the blind. There's a man pacing up and down the room.
Visitor, midnight, Holmes. This looks ominous. Be careful now. It may be some sort of trap.
I think not, Watson. If some desperado were lying in wait for me, I doubt whether he'd be stupid enough to turn up the gas to advertise his presence.
Sam, I wonder how he got in.
Presumably through the front door. Mrs. Hudson has instructions to let a client wait in our rooms if his business seems urgent.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
At your service, sir.
I'm Dr. Manners. Harvey Manners.
How do you do, Dr. Manners? This is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, Doctor?
How do you do? How do you do? Oh. Yes, how do you do? How do you do?
I came directly here.
Yeah, you got it. Cantu's got it. Can do, can too.
I've been acting in the capacity of personal physician for Martin Reeve, playwright.
Martin Reeve? Extraordinary coincidence. We've just returned from seeing the revival of his play, The Road is Narrow. We were talking about him as we walked home.
I understand the grand old man.
He is not in good shape, Mr. Holmes. His heart's in very bad condition. Auricular fibrillation, Dr. Watson.
I imagine you don't hold out much hope.
No, but I think with care, he might last a year or two. But the reason I've come to you, Mr. Holmes, is that I'm convinced that although he's a dying man, someone is trying to murder him.
Murder him? Good Lord.
What reason do you have for saying that, Dr. Manners?
Well, Mr. Holmes, I've been in almost daily attendance on Mr. Reeve. Last night, his coachman drove over to get me, saying that his master had suffered another bad attack. When I got to the house, I found that Mr. Reeve had received a severe shock. He was in a state of almost complete hysteria, and he kept insisting that he'd seen an apparition in his room a few hours earlier.
What kind of an apparition?
A ghost from his past, as he referred to it. I think that someone arranged for that apparition, that they knew of his heart condition, and also knew that a sudden fright could kill him.
It's possible, Dr. Manners, and it would be one of the least effective...
Of course I like him. Of course.
Dr. Manners, his daughter Catherine, his brother Silas, who's a drunken good-for-nothing, and his secretary, the
fellow by the name of Hugh Kingsley.
Hugh Kingsley.
Reeves as well?
No.
I like him. Get him done, and I'll tell you how I feel. Okay?
Easily have provoked a crisis. Dr. Manners, you say that Mr. Reeves spoke of seeing an apparition, a ghost from his past. Was he able to describe its appearance? Well, he was a little incoherent, but he kept babbling something about blonde hair,
Yeah.
blue eyes, and a young man who'd come back from beyond the grave to haunt him.
Well, don't you think, Dr. Manners, that these might simply be the delusions of an old man?
I didn't overlook that possibility, I assure you, Dr. Watson. Even though Mr. Reeves' mental faculties are remarkably acute for his age. Last night, after I'd given him a sedative, I examined his room. I found these, Mr. Holmes. That's when I decided to come to you.
Oh, that's a little bit. They look like blonde hair.
Yes, they are, Doctor. I found them on the bedclothes, and yet no one in that house has blonde hair. Interesting. Very interesting. The hair is human, and yet the roots have minute particles of blue attached to them. Obviously, they're from a wig. Get out the timetable, one.
We're going to Carlisle?
On the earliest possible train.
Black marker allowed? I would say go with, if you've got black coloring pencil, go with that first. And then when you want to get it darker, then hit it with the black marker, because you can't erase black marker. That's what I would say.
I'm Hugh Kingslake, Mr. Reeves' secretary. How do you do? The accommodations at the hotel are satisfactory, I trust, gentlemen?
Entirely,
Yes,
thank you,
we're very
Mr. Kingsley.
comfortable. Good. Frankly, I'm most relieved that you're here. Mr. Reeves received a severe shock the night before last. I quite agree with Dr. Manners that someone deliberately induced that shock, knowing the serious condition of Mr. Reeves' heart.
Have you
No
any idea
problem.
who that someone might be?
Well, it's a little difficult for me to talk, Mr. Holmes. After all, I'm only an employee here, but I can't help feeling that... Oh, good morning, Mr. Reeves.
You think? Who are these men?
This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and Mr. Silas Reeve.
How do you do, Mr. Reeves?
And what, may I ask, is the professional meddler Sherlock Holmes doing in my brother's house?
I'm here at the request of Dr. Manners.
Manners has no right to bring you here, sir. Not rubbish. All this talk about apparitions. Nonsense.
Nonsense!
You've become a gibbering old fool. Personally,
Alright. Get to it. I believe in you. I believe in you.
Get out of the house. We don't want detectives here.
Mr. Reeves, I've traveled some 200 miles to see your brother, and I have no intention of leaving this house without talking to him.
And talk and the devil with you. My dear, distinguished brother tells you that I've been sponging on him for years. It's perfectly true.
Uncle, sorry.
Enter the beautiful Catherine to try and persuade her drunken old uncle to return to his room.
No, Uncle Silas. I came to get Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. Dr. Manners said that Daddy can see them now.
Shall I take them up, Mr. Reeves?
No, Mr. Kingslake. I will.
And don't be deceived by the Mr. Kingslake and the Miss Reeves gentlemen. My dear niece and this young man here have a dark secret. A secret that is perfectly apparent to every member of this household.
Uncle Silas.
They're in love. Delightful, isn't it?
Uncle, you're intolerable.
Will you lead the way, Miss Reeves?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes.
Don't forget to ask him about the play that made him so famous. You might learn some interesting facts.
I must apologize for Uncle Silas, gentlemen. I'm afraid he's like this all the time these days.
I quite understand, Miss
It
Reeves.
must be very distressing for you, my dear.
Oh, I'm used to it, Doctor. Here's Daddy's room. I won't come in with you. Too many people upset. Please go in, gentlemen. I'll see you later.
Ah, there you are.
Who is it, Manners?
It's Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, Mr. Reeves.
Ah, good. Good. You can leave us, Manners.
Yes, Mr. Reeves. I see you both later. Very well, Doctor.
Come. Sit on my bed. Yeah, that's it.
How are you feeling, sir?
Old. Old and ill. But I'm glad you're both here. Manners displayed unusual enterprise in persuading you to visit me. There's been a lot of nonsense printed about my impending death. Anyone would think a great man is dying.
The author of The Road is Narrow is a great man, Mr. Reed.
He was a great man, Mr. Holmes.
What do you mean, sir?
The author of that play died 45 years ago.
What?
And yet, his ghost appeared in this room 2 nights ago.
Mr. Reed, are you saying that you didn't write The Road is Narrow?
Yes, my boy, I am. And it's a secret that's been gnawing at me for years. Now that I'm on my deathbed, I'd like to clear my conscience.
Then who did write the play, sir?
A young friend of mine by the name of Colin McGrath. I started life as a lawyer's clerk in Keswick, a few miles from here. Colin lived in the same village and we became great friends. One day, he gave me the manuscript of his play to look at. And I realized it was a work of a genius. Suddenly he died. And no one knew about the manuscript.
You claimed it as your own, sir?
Yes. To my eternal shame, I did. Now, I want to make amends. Mr. Holmes, I want you to find out if any heirs of Colin McGrath still survive. If they do, I'll give them half of my estate.
Mr. Reed, does anyone else know of this, fraud?
Yes. Knowing that I hadn't long for this world, I confided the secret to 3 members of my household.
And you're convinced that the apparition you saw the other night was that of the dead Colin McGrath?
There was no mistaking him. The blue eyes, the long golden hair. It was Colin, or his ghost come to hunt me on my deathbed.
This decision on your part to leave half of your estate to any heirs of the man you wronged, was that decision made before you had this strange visitation the other night?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Did you mention it to any member of your family, sir?
No. I did say something to Dr. Manners, and I didn't mention Colin McGrath's name.
It's obvious that someone wished to frighten you, knew your secret, and disguised himself to resemble Colin McGrath.
Yeah, it was Colin. Never forget his blue eyes. He was standing over there in the chest of drawers. He looked at me. So approached fully. So
Sleep. Yes, Watson. And while he lies there, some member of this household continues to plot his death. We must work fast.
Well, what are we going to do?
Split forces. I shall remain here for a while and see what may be found out. I'll meet you at our hotel later and we'll compare notes.
And what shall I do?
Go to the village of Keswick. Colin McGrath lived and died there. See what you can find out about him, Watson.
Of course I remember Colin McGrath.
Well, I should be grateful for any information about him, madam. As postmistress, I imagine that very little village gossip has escaped you.
Of course it hasn't. I remember the McGrath boy well. He was no good. Didn't he marry poor old Mrs. Norfolk's granddaughter Susan and then go and desert her just to kill himself? And the poor girl was going to have a baby. No good on earth. That's what young McGrath was. And you can tell him I said so if you ever reach the place I'm sure he went to.
Oh, they had a child, you say. What happened to it, madam?
How should I know? I'm only the postmistress. You'd better go and see the vicar, young man.
It's a tragic story you've told me, Dr. Watson.
But you remember Colin McGrath, sir?
Oh, very well. And I always suspected something akin to genius in the boy. But he burned with too hard and gem-like a flame. As Walter Pater has said, he burned himself, destroyed his life, and poor Susan Northcliffe's with it. She died of a broken heart less than a year after his death.
And their child?
There was no money, no one to look after the boy. He was sent to an orphanage in Liverpool.
Then that child, if he's still alive, stands to inherit half of Martin Reeve's fortune. If only we can find it. Oh, it's good to be back here at the Hotel, Holmes. I've had an exhausting day.
I trust you had better luck than I did. What did you find out?
That Colin McGrath had a child, that his wife died shortly after the child's birth, and that the boy was sent to an orphanage in Liverpool.
In Liverpool? Go on, Watson.
Well, the vicar gave me this photograph of Mrs. McGrath. It was taken on their wedding day.
Let me see it. But this is amazing, Watson. One of our problems is solved.
Well, I'm blessed if I see how.
Let me explain it to you. After you left, I had quite a long talk with the secretary, Hugh Kingsley. It transpired that he knew nothing of his parents. He'd been raised in an orphanage, and the only memento he has is a picture of his mother. A picture that he carries in his watch.
And that picture
is a duplicate of this one.
Great Scott, and the fellow calling himself Hugh Kingsley is really Colin McGrath heir.
Precisely. A fantastic situation indeed. Come on, old chap. Grab your hat and coat. We must drive over to Mr. Reeves and break the good news that the missing heir is a member of his own house.
It's fine. I don't know why you don't have to apologize. You're fine.
Please come at once, both of you. It's Mr. Reeve. Yes, Dr. Watson. This evening, he had another visit from that apparition. I'm only afraid this time the devilish plan may work and that Martin Reeve won't live through the night.
You're fine.
In a moment, we'll find out what Sherlock Holmes says is obvious. But first, more and more men today are beginning to realize they should take better care of the hair they've got.
Yeah.
And when you buy a hair tonic, why not get your money's worth? Why
All
not enjoy
right.
the extra advantages of Kreml hair tonic? Kreml contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic.
What?
This highly specialized hair tonic keeps dry, stubborn hair neatly in place all day long.
These potions and lotions. No, you're fine, Drawberry. Thank you for just being here. You don't know how much it is just seeing you guys. Thank you for just being here.
Leaving your scalp feeling so alive, so invigorating. At the same time, Kreml removes loose dandruff. It's excellent to lubricate a dry scalp.
Now drawing. Ah, gotcha. It's all good.
Kreml actually helps condition the hair, in that it makes it feel softer, more pliable. So men, just as soon as possible, buy a bottle of Kreml at any drugstore. Let Kreml always...
Gotta get up a little bit. Kreml.
Well, Dr. Watson, this story certainly has me on the edge of my chair. What happened next? We drove over to Mr. Reeves' house, I suppose.
Yes, well, we did. And as we went rattling down the country lanes, flickering oil lamps on Dr. Manners' carriage, lighting a shadowy path, I found it almost impossible to get a word out of Sherlock.
Damn. Is it 30 degrees?
Sometimes you're the most irritating man on earth.
And what prompts that little tirade, Watson?
You haven't opened your mouth since we left our hotel.
The purpose of this conversation is a waste of time. Not much further, is it, Dr. Manners? No, Mr. Holmes. We're nearly there.
Well, I don't consider conversation purposes when it comes
Oh, shit. You backaronis. Oh, shit. It's Massel Adam.
The facts are clearly in front of your eyes.
Aw, thank you. I'm just glad you're here. 30 degrees Celsius. I don't fucking know what that is Celsius.
Quite, Watson. That fact should
Hold
be
up.
an obvious conclusion. Here we are, Mr. Holmes. And Hugh Kingslake is standing at the front door. How is he, Mr. Kingslake?
Better, Mr. Holmes. Seems to have rallied a bit. I'm glad you're all here.
I'd drive my
86. Okay, it's hot. It's hot over there. Okay, I get it. All right. So it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All right.
So ill, it may seem a little inappropriate to announce my news.
With so many people from other countries, I should really have...
Yes, indeed.
There's Celsius and Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Told them our news.
There's other people from other countries that watch my stream. I should really accept that.
It's quite understandable, Miss Reeve. And before we go up and see your father, I'd like you both to know that we have something...
Middle of Europe. Oh, okay. Nice.
You mean that
What? Masaladov, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Reeve is planning to leave half his estate to the heir of Mr. McGrath?
I knew that, Dr. Watson. In my capacity as secretary, I had occasion
It's hot AF here, but we built.
Then I'm sure, Mr. Kingslake, that you'll be very interested to know
But we built different.
Watson and I discovered that you are the son of Colin McGrath.
That I am?
You is the heir? Well, that doesn't seem...
Well, how hot is it over there in the Philippines? What's the heat index?
Yes, my boy, you do. That's what Mr. Holmes meant when he was talking about wedding presents.
Come here, somebody!
That's Uncle Silas. He's upstairs with Dad.
What's wrong, Mr. Reeve?
Fire! I knocked over a lamp in Martin's room.
And Daddy's up there.
The room's ablaze.
Oh no! Super! Oh no! Oh no! It's so hot.
Send one of the servants for the fire brigade and tell the rest to bring buckets of water and to bring them fast.
Okay, so 90 something degrees? Jesus.
Badly burned, but he'll be all right, won't he, Dr. Mann?
Wi-Fi got hot.
He'll be as good as new.
Father?
Well, I am afraid he's
91 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot.
He might have lived for a time, but the shock of the fire coming so close on top of the other one was too much for him.
Well, that's asking a bit too much.
So that by knocking over a lamp, I was responsible for my brother's death?
Yes, Mr. Reeve, the credit is yours. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the local police might consider booking you on a charge of arson.
Rubbish! It was an accident. Can't prove otherwise.
Possibly not. But there's one matter I can settle here and now. 2 nights ago, someone in this house tried to murder Martin Reeve by posing as Colin McGrath.
Oh.
The same despicable action was repeated tonight.
Well, one person that we can eliminate is Hugh Kingslake. He nearly gave his life just now, trying to save his employer.
Then who was responsible, Mr. Holmes?
A feature of the impersonation that especially struck your father, Miss Reeve, was the color of the eyes. He described them as a brilliant blue.
Then that rules out Catherine and me, and we both have brown eyes.
Precisely, Mr. Reeve. I have devoted some considerable study to the art.
Time. It's not time. Basically, it's going bonkers. In Portugal, we have 41 degrees at night. Shit. I just can't AC. I want AC. I want to sleep comfy or work comfy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's so hot. Ironically, Alabama isn't that hot right now. We're being cooled down by the weather. By rain. It's so nice.
But surely his reason was obvious. He intended to marry you. And when he learned a few days ago that your father planned to will
But it was my. But what if it was my fault?
I see it all, Holmes. And then tonight, he realized that he was the heir.
Precisely, Watson. And so it was to his great advantage to see that his employer stayed alive to execute that new will. That accounts for his bravery in the fire tonight.
I can't believe it, Mr. Holmes.
I can. I've always disliked you, and I'll have great pleasure in prosecuting him.
It'd be hard to prove, Silas. After all, your brother did die a natural death.
Yes, Dr. Manders. I fear that legally there's very little we can do with Mr. Kingslake. But when he recovers and realizes that he risked his life for nothing, I think he'll find his own punishment. The change in the will was not made. The estate will be divided between the family, and I doubt if Mr. Kingslake will now acquire any of it by marriage.
No, of course he won't. I'll never see him again.
Quite right, my dear. Quite right. What a despicable scheme.
Damn.
Think that his father wrote one of the greatest plays of our century.
I prefer to forget the fact, Watson. Emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear thinking.
Damn.
I assure you that the most winning woman I ever knew was hanged for poisoning 3 little children for their insurance money. And the most repellent man of my acquaintance is a philanthropist who has spent nearly $250,000 on the London tour. Now, my dear chap, I think we should look up the next train back to London. Our work here is done.
Damn. Cold. Cold. Do I prefer... Do I prefer a gloomy day to a sunny day?
We glamour bathe our hair with Kreml
I actually love a cold, sunny day. A very cold, sunny day. Or even, I can take a gloomy day. I like a gloomy day. A gloomy day is like, oh, I should get work done and stuff like that. I'm very sleepy, but I should get work done.
That's right. Kreml shampoo leaves your hair so much softer. A silkier hair with satin smoothness. Your hair holds a better wave, too.
So, ladies, buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo.
Yeah, ladies. You hear that, ladies?
A vision of beauty. Kreml.
Yes, it would be quite beautiful. Get it, trying to stay warm on a sunny day. Just, and you don't want to get too hot, so you stay under a tree.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Bell, and the same to you, my dear. I'd also like to take this opportunity of extending the season's greetings to all our listeners and all our friends. On behalf of our sponsors, on behalf of Mr. Conway and myself, and on behalf of Mr. McKnight, our director.
So, Dr. Watson, we'll be meeting again next Saturday night. What new Sherlock Holmes adventure are you planning to tell us next?
A strange story of a weird jungle music that was heard in the peaceful English countryside, and of a diabolical plot that failed. I call it The Singer Affair of the White Cockerel.
Have you ever seen a tree?
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Sign of Four. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Line. Help win the war against tuberculosis. Buy colorful Christmas seals and use them to dress up all your cards and packages.
Right.
Buy the Christmas seals that help save lives today. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo. I'm inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about the singular affair of the White Cockerel.
It's completely lifted in Alabama. Like 100% lifted.
The American Broadcasting Company.
And they're like, oh, but the cases are spiking. Well, the answer is, I guess we'll die then. They don't care.
Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom
I'm like, okay.
Sherlock Holmes. Well, once again, it's time to keep that weekly date with our good friend and host, Dr. Watson. Let's join, shall we?
Come in, Mr. Bell.
Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, my boy.
How are you feeling after your Christmas holiday?
Remarkably well, thank you, Mr. Bell, considering how extremely hospitable my friends have been. Just a twinge or two of gout to remind me that an old man should treat tawny port with the respect that it deserves.
I know just what you mean, Dr. Watson.
I know exactly what is he talking about. The fuck is Dr. Watson talking about?
Yes, Mr. Bell. And when I was going over my notes on the case just before you arrived, I came across this white feather that played a prominent part in tonight's adventure.
A white feather? That signifies cowardice, doesn't it?
Yes, it can, Mr. Bell, it can, but this is a very special feather. It was plucked from a white cockerel, and it helped Sherlock Holmes foil one of the most diabolical plots that we ever encountered. But first, don't you...
Diabolical? Oh no!
Men, if you want to stand out in the crowd,
People think since they received the second dose they are safe from the virus, but like, it's still very much a thing. No, I know. I think they know, and their answer is, I don't care, I guess I'll die. Like, they don't give a shit.
it keeps hair neatly in place.
They're like, we gotta fucking keep going. We don't expect any fucking assistance from our government, so goodbye.
Notice how no greasy film comes off on your hand on your hat band.
It's kind of how Alabama's always been. It's like, yeah.
At the end of the day, your hair looks just
All right, you can stay in your houses. That's cool. We're gonna go outside, and even if it means death.
Now, Dr. Watson, how about the story of the white cockle?
Well, Mr. Bell, that adventure took place after Sherlock Holmes had given up his regular practice and retired to his bee farm on the Sussex Downs. I was staying with him there for a few weeks' holiday, and I remember coming down to breakfast one morning.
Jesus. This motherfucker goes on so many holidays.
Squatting on a stool, examining the contents of a large metal box at his feet. As he threw back the lid,
What do you mean? No, we got Corona lights. We got that.
after sorting through them for
No, the answer is they don't give a shit. That's the answer. They're like, I don't give a fuck if it's real or not. I don't care. It's killed so many people, and I got some shit to do.
I've often wished that I had the notes on them.
So that you might transmute my little adventures into those rather florid stories of yours?
My stories aren't florid. They're factual accounts of what
Damn.
happened.
Don't be that, my dear fellow.
Damn.
Early in the day. Well, Watson, perhaps someday the world will hear
Damn.
these cases. They're not all successes, but there are some pretty little problems among them.
I'm sure there are.
What's your excuse?
Here's the record of the Carlton murder. Banbury, the wine merchant.
What happened to him?
He died, Watson, under peculiarly horrible circumstances. That case This adventure was really a little recherche. It's a full account.
Did you get a free setup? Oh, yeah.
I remember a dreadful woman.
Ghosts from the past, Watson. Ghosts to remind me that my heyday's long past.
Rubbish. I'm quite sure that if
I got a free setup, so no, I haven't looked at any PC price these days.
Arrived just before you came downstairs.
I got a free setup that I need to set up.
Apparently needs my help. And yet I assure you I'm not in the least tempted to give it to him.
may I see it?
Certainly. Yeah.
Dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I need your help desperately. Have the goodness to call on me as soon as convenience permits. Continued theft of chickens may appear to be a small matter. Chickens, who gracious me, but I assure you that there are sinister forces at work. Asking you to catch a chicken thief. Well, really, Holmes.
Yes, Watson. Chickens. Something of a come down, isn't it?
Well, do you know this, Mr. Manderby?
No. But surely his handwriting gives you a clue to his character.
Well, it's legible and regular. A man of business habits, I
Yeah.
should say, and of some force of character.
No, Watson.
Oh, what?
Look at his long letters. They hardly rise above the common herd. That D might be an A, and the L an E. Men of character always differentiate their long letters, however illegibly they may write.
I want to speak to your manager.
Self-esteem is capital. It's elementary, my dear Watson, and our long association together should remind you of the fact. I'm afraid you're getting rusty.
Well, perhaps you're getting rusty too, Holmes, and since the sun is shining, and this letter comes from a neighbor of yours, it might be rather interesting to...
Call on Mr. Manderby.
Exactly. I'd like to see if your analysis of his character matches the gentleman himself. In any case, Holmes, he may really be in trouble, you know.
Watson, you're like an old war horse hearing a nearly forgotten bugle.
But even for stolen chickens, it's good to be in harness with you again.
When that wistful tone creeps into your voice, I can't refuse you, Watson. Very well. Let's stroll across the downs and investigate the mystery of Mr. Manderby's chickens.
Mr. Holmes, I'm glad you and your friend came here so promptly.
You and your friend? The way that he talks to him sometimes almost feels like a old married couple. Less of a partner or detective. I think it's very funny.
Local sergeant appears to have been selected for his complete lack of grey matter and one iota of imagination.
He's unable to see in what respect.
The Earth is a sphere. You know,
Well, in what way does it differ, Mr. Vanderbilt?
Well, the chicken
I mean,
considerable ingenuity.
look,
The thief could have taken
can I just say one thing?
but he stole only one chicken.
If we had lizard people, that would be radical. Stop hiding, please. I want to see them. I wouldn't be afraid. I'd be down for some lizard people.
A burglar broke into the house itself.
And what was stolen this time?
Again, the thief took only one object. My daughter's hairbrush.
Does your daughter know of these thefts?
No, I didn't tell her.
Where's our cat people? Neku wife. Where's our dragon waifus?
Against my better judgment, but thank heaven I did. Please let me talk to your daughter at once. Unless I'm very much mistaken, there's devil's work afoot.
Devil's work afoot. Oh no. The devil works in mysterious ways.
Alicia's playing in the drawing room. I'll take you in.
I think if you don't mind, Vanderbilt, that we would prefer to see her alone.
Rubbish. What could you possibly wish to say to my daughter that you couldn't say in front of me?
Well, since my friend has been kind enough to help you, sir, I think you'd better let him conduct his investigation in his own manner.
Oh, very, very, very well. All sounds unnecessarily mysterious to me. I'll be in my study.
Dr. Fuller, you were right in your analysis of his character, Holmes. Well, let's go in.
Listen to the piano, Watson.
They're in the Middle Earth. They are hiding them. I just got a bad character randomizer. That's why I look like this. Oh.
Sorry, Father. Oh, listen, Father. Who are you, gentlemen?
Miss Manderby, permit me to introduce myself. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, my dear?
Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I knew you lived in the neighborhood. Why are you here?
At your father's request.
Nothing's wrong, is it, Mr. Holmes?
I'm not sure, Miss Manderby. That's why we've come to talk to you.
Oh, may we sit down, Manila?
Oh, yes, of course. Please
You play the piano excellently, Miss Manderby. Have you ever thought of...
Oh. You're so funny, Masaladov. You make comedy.
He needs me here all the time.
You don't see many people here at the house.
No, Dr. Watson. Papa doesn't like me to cultivate any friends. He wishes me to devote all my attention to him.
Extremely selfish and medieval point of view, it would seem to me.
Oh, please, Mr. Holmes, you mustn't say anything against Papa. If he knew that we were talking about him, he'd be furious.
Then let me confine myself to you, Miss Manderby. Do you know of anyone in this neighborhood who might wish you serious harm?
No, I don't. I told you, I hardly know anyone.
Then why, my dear young lady, are you so obviously terrified of your own shadow?
Please don't ask me that. I haven't even had the courage to tell Papa.
Possibly not, my dear, but Mr. Holmes is here to help you and protect you. That's why he insisted on our seeing you alone.
Yes, Miss Manderby. And a trouble shared, you know?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. I will tell you. I've got to tell someone. Last night I had a ghastly dream. A dream that I was in some foreign country, in the jungle. I was tied to a stone slab, and a group of natives danced around me, waving knives. And they were all wearing terrifying masks.
Oh, my dear, it sounds like too much lobster for supper.
Quiet, Watson. Please continue, Miss Manderby.
All the time I could hear a strange, haunting pipe playing in the background. Sounded like some sort of flute, and there was a drum beating out a slow, rhythmic beat.
The same rhythm that you were playing on the piano as we came in.
Why, yes. It's been haunting me ever since I awakened this morning. It goes
Almost reminds me of House.
awakened from the nightmare, but I could still hear the melody continuing. I went to the window, and in the moonlight I saw a tall man walking below.
Could you recognize him?
No, Mr. Holmes. He was disappearing through the shrubbery, and his back was turned. But his hands were raised to his mouth. And I could hear the same
No,
melody being played
like House. Houseu is more. Is a very famous Japanese horror.
accusing me of being fanciful. Oh, but I'm not
It's really good.
I'm glad that you've told us this.
It's very campy, but it's kind of like a precursor to most Japanese horror films.
Devil's all this about?
When I can answer that question, Watson, the case will be solved. As it
Or the a good one is what is it? Twin Peaks intro also is pretty good.
change from her normal self where you are concerned might be a benefit, sir.
Yes, indeed. The poor girl seems completely terrified of you, sir.
The problem with my daughter's relationship with her father is no possible concern of yours.
Yeah, it is.
I asked you here on a simple matter of detection.
Detection, yes, but far from simple. I warn you, you're in serious danger of the loss of a great deal more than a white cockerel and a hairbrush. Be on your guard, Mr. Manderby. Dr. Watson and I must conduct a little investigation in the village. You may expect a call from us later in the day.
Junji Ito, hell yes I do. The art style is not beautiful, it is horrifying and terrifying, and is where nightmares reside. This hole was made for him.
The owner's name is Mr. George Shapley. Let's see what information the gentleman can give us.
Isn't that Holmes?
I mean, it is beautifully horrifying.
And the melody is the same that Miss
I'll give you that.
This house is only a stone's throw away from hers.
Precisely.
Yes, gentlemen.
Mr. Shapley?
Yes.
My name is Holmes, and this is my friend, Dr.
How
Watson.
do you do, sir?
How are you, doctor? What can I do for you, gentlemen?
I'm something of a student of music. We were walking past your house, and I heard what sounded like a flute playing a strange
It
melody.
seemed to come from the direction of the stables over there.
Oh, that. It's my manservant, Harker. He's a West Indian. Brought him over with me from Trinidad. He's quite a musician. In an amateur sort of way, you know?
I wonder if I might speak to him.
Of course you can, Mr. Holmes. I'll walk you over there.
Thank you. We were thinking of getting
Yeah, Duckman.
for the church ladies.
Duckman.
Your man would consider contributing his services.
You can ask him. He spends 2 or 3 hours a day out here practicing. Harker,
Yes?
come here a minute.
Yes, Mr. Pepper.
These gentlemen heard you playing and wondered if you'd like to do something for some, some village concert or other.
Oh, that's flattering.
We're organizing a musical soiree for the church ladies in a few weeks.
Yes, sir, man, and we'd like you to play for us. I'm only an amateur, but I'll be very glad to help, gentlemen.
That instrument you were playing, it had an odd quality. Was it a flute?
Yes, sir. Though I doubt if you've ever seen one like it. Look for yourself. Lord, looks as if it's made of bone. It is, sir. From a human leg bone. Really? It's about 200 years old and originally came from Brazil. It's quite a collector's item.
I'm sure it is. Tell me, Harker, since you're from the West
You have a very comfy looking character. So comfy! This is very comfy times.
Oh, yes.
Like that?
I'd rather not, sir. Primitive chants are dangerous medicine, and that evil powers are not
Getting so comfy over here. I hope everybody's so comfy and nice and not so hot that you're gonna die. Open the window if you don't have any AC. I don't know what else to recommend. You could make a cheap AC unit, which is grabbing a bag of ice in a bucket and then
I picked this object from his coat as he turned to you during the conversation. None of you noticed it.
What is it?
Look for yourself, Watson. Here. Great.
Stick ice down your pants. I mean, if it looks bad, it looks bad. That's why you grow. You gotta make, as Miss Frizzle once said, take chances, make mistakes, get messy.
We shall call on Mr. Manderby before long. My investigation is complete. What luck did you have?
Well, I did as you told me. I made exhaustive inquiries in the village.
With what results?
I couldn't find out much about Mr. Shapley. Nobody knows anything about the man except that he has a foreign manservant and that he paid cash for his house and deposited a large sum of money in the local bank. What did you discover? I see that you've been up to your ears in reference books.
Yes, Watson. Books concerning the peculiarly revolting ceremonies connected with voodooism.
Voodooism? That's black magic.
But flourishing in our English countryside, apparently. A white cockerel is the second finest sacrifice in voodoo magic associated with the West Indian
That
charms.
accounts for the first theft. How about the stolen hairbrush?
In all such magic, the possession of intensely personal objects, particularly human hair, is considered to give great supernatural powers over that person.
Then it's obvious that West Indian servant is trying to get power over Miss Manderby. Holmes, you spoke of a white cockerel being the second finest sacrifice. What is the first?
A human sacrifice. The sacrifice of a young girl.
Great Scott.
And tomorrow night the moon is full. I think that tonight the girl should be safe. Though, of course, we'll go over there.
Damn.
Holmes, the lights of a carriage are coming up your driveway.
We're going to someone colon. I like it. Yeah. If it was the fuck. Color it. Blue. Blue beak. Blew it up. You go into Miss Frizzle's like,
We'll find out in a moment what Sherlock Holmes decides to do now.
we've got to go into this child's colon.
Start today and take better care of the hair you've got.
With the frizz? No way. Yeah, blue. You heard me. Blue. Blew it up.
Enjoy the extra advantages of a highly specialized hair tonic like Kreml. Kreml contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. This is why it keeps unruly hair neatly in place longer, with a rich, healthy-looking luster. Yet Kreml never gives hair that cheap, greasy, patent leather look.
Right?
It never leaves hair feeling sticky, gummy, or dirty. Your hair and scalp always look and feel so clean with Kreml. And if your hair is so dry it breaks and falls when you comb it,
I'd just be like, I forgot my permission slip.
let it make your hair feel softer.
Oh, we don't need permission slips here, children.
A quick massage with Kreml helps stimulate the cutaneous circulation of the
Seems
scalp.
like you do.
How alive, how invigorated your scalp feels. So for better groomed hair, a hygienic scalp, use Kreml daily. Kreml.
You wouldn't want to go on an adventure with me, Masaladov? You wouldn't be like, well, if he's going, I'll go.
Sherlock Holmes drove over to Mr. Manderby's house, I suppose.
Yes, fell as fast as a pony and trap could carry us there. When we arrived, Manderby quickly led us to the shrubbery beneath his daughter's window.
Yes, you can see how the...
Or would you just be like, nah, I'll see you in a bit. Give me gummy bears and I'll go.
An amazing deduction, Watson.
There's no need to be sarcastic. Holmes, we should go to Shapley's house at once. It's obvious that that's where the danger lies.
Before saying that anything is obvious, Watson, I'd like your help in trying an experiment.
Yes, of course, Holmes. What is it?
Of course, Holmes. Also, as long as the colon has 5 grand internet, 5G internet. Oh, okay.
Mr. Manderby, since you asked my help, I suggest you let me handle the case in my own way.
Holmes, I don't think this trellis is going to hold my weight.
Bravo, Watson. Your test has been invaluable.
What do you mean it's been invaluable? I think I've broken my back.
I'm sure you will. Come on, old chap. Get on your feet. Let's go to Mr. Shapley's house at once. I only hope we're not too late to prevent a tragedy.
light's coming from the stables, Holmes.
Music, too. Listen.
It's that West Indian playing his devilish chant again.
Faster, Watson.
Look, look, look! There's someone standing in the shadows by the harness room there.
It's Mr. Shapley. Good evening, sir.
Mr. Who, Dr. Watson, thank heavens you're here.
What's wrong, Mr. Shapley?
Look in that empty store there. You can see through the broken plank in the wall. The one where the music's coming from.
Good heavens. Look, Holmes. There's Miss Vanderbilt lying on the floor unconscious.
Yes, with a dead white cockerel beside her, and a fire smoldering in the corner.
And to think that servant of mine's in there playing his filthy music.
Don't see him.
Mr. Holmes, I've got a revolver. I'm going in to get him.
I'll give Cantu psychic power. Man's gotta be OP. And then Daka, and then he's gone.
Pick it up, Watson. I have a profound dislike for seeing murder committed under my very eyes.
Murder? But the potential murder is Harker, the servant.
Indeed. Then why is his unconscious body lying in the corner there?
It can't be. The music's still playing. That's his flute.
Yes, and it's accompanied by a drum. A remarkable feat even for a man not lying unconscious on the floor. Music is undoubtedly that of a gramophone. You're remarkably quiet, Mr. Harker.
Of course he is. He's unconscious.
My dear Watson, you're overlooking an important fact. It's a case of identity. The West Indian gentleman lying on the floor is the master, Mr. Shapley. This man is the servant, Harker.
Let me...
No, you don't. Grab him, Watson.
I've got him, Holmes. Let go of me. You can't prove anything.
I can and I will. You'll go to prison for this night's work. Watson, see what may be done to arrive with others, while I turn this man over to the police. How is Miss Manderby, Watson?
She's going to be all right, Holmes. I took her home to her father's and left instructions for her care. How are you feeling, Shepherd?
Fine, thank you, Dr. Watson. But I'm waiting for Mr. Holmes to explain this night's happenings to me.
So am I, as usual.
Then let me analyze this singular affair in its logical progression. I early concluded that you, Mr. Shapley, were the master, and the other man was the servant.
Right, Mr. Holmes, but I didn't know how you knew it.
Your speech and manner suggested nothing else. You reversed roles, I imagine, because it was an easier way to rent a house in the English country.
That was the reason, Mr. Holmes. In my previous visits, I discerned a certain prejudice against foreigners.
That's a shocking thing. Shepherd, you decided to live here for your health, I suppose?
No, Doctor. I came to the English countryside for peace. Peace to conclude my studies on the origin and history of West Indian native music.
I see.
I've been working in close conjunction with Professor Griffiths of the Brighton College of Anthropology. It was he who concerned me to make graphophone records of my works with a view to recording them for musical archives.
And your servant saw his advantage. When you decided to change identities, he realized that if he disposed of you, he would be able to continue in his false character as the supposed Mr. Shapley. He could have taken over your large bank balance and retired under yet a third name with the proceeds.
And then he concocted this elaborate plot involving voodoo and native chants, knowing that his master was the suspect.
Precisely. He drugged his master, placed him in the incriminating trap, and then planned to burst in just ahead of us and shoot him.
But Holmes, the white feather you found on Mr. Shapley's coat.
Hold up. Man, so much fun. He might not be bulletproof, but his armor resists everything. So aim for the head. I mean, okay, orbital bombardment. I'm sorry, you lose. Orbital bombardment.
It was obvious that the whole thing was a plot. What a shocking business.
Yes, but I can tell you how grateful I am to you, gentlemen. You saved my life. Mr. Holmes, I must insist on paying you a handsome fee.
A fee? No, Mr. Shapley. I couldn't dream of accepting one. Some people in my country have been sufficiently inhospitable to a foreigner to make him believe it advisable to change places with his own servant. Presumably, this was done in order to obtain tolerance and peace. Surely the least I can do is to see that his stay on these shores is a tolerable one.
You know what? I'm gonna go with a different color this time.
Or perhaps just just spend a
Maybe
quiet
something more comfortable. Maybe a nice light
So why
blue.
not follow this beauty tip from those divinely beautiful Powers models?
We wash our hair with Kreml shampoo.
You do?
This beautifying shampoo has been especially developed to actually glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair, revealing all its natural glossy luster.
And so many women tell me how wonderful Kreml shampoo is for washing children.
For washing? Washing?
Shampoo is so mild and gentle on the hair. Its luxurious active foam removes all loose dandruff as well as
Yeah.
Girls, if only you could see how Powers model's hair fairly radiates natural glossy highlights, I'm sure you'd want to try
I mean,
Kreml shampoo right away.
you never want to make your character invincible, because the more invincible they are, the more uninteresting they are. It's kind of a character development thing. It's like, it's the challenges that make your character interesting. If they win everything, they aren't interesting. If they win everything, but it's by the skin of their teeth, it's way more interesting.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Mazarin Stone. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time, when Dr. Watson will tell us about the Darlington substitution case.
Oh, yeah.
ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Getting all comfy.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Shampoo.
Depends on what's happening. Like, it's the way that a story tells. Like, it could be the most interesting thing in the world. It's like, oh, they haven't been thinking about their friends and stuff like that in wartime. It's very interesting to have that.
Good evening, Dr. Watson. Well, have you
But that's just my opinion, is that it depends on the writer. It completely depends on the writer. Some writers can write through it. Some writers most definitely can't. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That looks good. Oh.
might easily have brought ruin and disgrace to one of the most famous men who ever came a member of the House of Lords.
This one I've got to hear. But first I have a message for
All
us.
right. And then I add
I think men realize how important it is to keep their hair neatly groomed.
this.
And
I
men,
do
may
a
I ask
little
you this
thing
about the
like this.
preparation you use? Does it give your hair that old-fashioned, greasy, patent leather look? When you run your hand back over your hair, does your hair feel greasy, sticky, or dirty? Does grease come off on your hand or hatband? If it does, then be smart, men. Change at once to Kreml Hair Tonic. This highly specialized hair tonic contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. That's why Kreml keeps your hair in place longer, with such a handsome, well-groomed look. When you use Kreml, you can run your
It
hair
really depends on the writer. Like, friendship can be used as a tool if, like, the character hasn't been using it as a tool the whole fucking time. So, like, if the character is like, my friends aren't here, oh, I can't, or like the character is literally like, oh, he's getting beaten up, and he goes, I need to remember my training and the memories I shared with my teammates. Suddenly turns into a god. Yeah, no, that's BS writing. Now, if it's like, oh, I survived, oh, I got through it, that's different. That's overcoming obstacles, and killing off a main character, ironically, does not make for a good story.
I can almost hear him now. He said,
Dear me, Watson. The agony column of the Times is more than usually barren this morning.
are you looking for a possible clown, Holmes?
So yeah, depends on the anime completely. Completely depends on the anime. It's about to be that time again, though. They're losing, then they remember the tips of their teachers and apply mid-fight. Like, those I can understand and seems more most likely. Yeah, no, that's like normal stuff. Like, oh right, my teacher told me to dodge low kicks. I should jump more. Yeah.
Surely Jimmy will not break his mother's heart. That appears to be irrelevant.
Stop it.
The lady who fainted on the top deck of the Brixton bus. She doesn't interest me either, Watson.
No, probably anyone else who wasn't on that bus.
Every day my heart longs for...
Let's change the size, and then... Oh yeah.
It is heartening, Holmes. You haven't had a case for over 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I
Let's change the size.
What do the
Let's get our eyelashes, and then let's add a little bit of. Let's add a little. Let's add just a tiny bit, and then let's add some highlights, of course. Lad, remember to add the highlights. I know. Hold up, let me add these highlights. I know you're excited.
Looking at the numbers of the houses.
Let's hope 221B is the number he's searching for. What do you make of him, Watson?
You gotta remember to add those highlights now, Lado.
Yes, foreigner, look at those flashy clothes and his pointed
Let's
moustache.
see.
Don't be misled by externals, old chap. Observe the steady, controlled gait.
Yeah, I agree with you though, Master Lado.
Or the military heaviness of the German. No, Watson. I think an English gait in foreign attire...
Yeah.
Only just returned...
Nice. Nice. It's silly and fun. Get out of here. You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. You'll get there. It takes time, but you're getting there. I've seen your artwork. You got it. See, hold up. Hold up.
And I'm prepared to pay for it. Protection from what?
See?
My life's been...
There you go.
Police wouldn't do it.
You know it.
I'm told you detective fellas will do anything.
Yeah, show me what you got. You know me. And I also believe in you, A10 Award Hog. Just starting out. Takes time.
I'll give you £20 and another 20 if I need you again. And who is your friend?
God damn it, Twitch. God damn it.
He's a scoundrel. His title is confidential. That's why they wouldn't help him. Well, even the title can be vulnerable.
I bet no one ever uses this. The smile. Like, I'm still fine, but I'm not fine inside. That's what I always assume that smile is. It's like that you say you're fine, but you're not fine. Yeah, no, totally. Put it in.
The fee will be paid in advance, please. I have it in this envelope here. I expect immediate action, Holmes. You shall have it, Mr. Tremaine.
Holmes, the man's insufferable. Why'd you take on the case?
Blam.
Let him get thrashed.
Oh, yeah.
Crisp £5 notes persuade me otherwise, Watson. We owe money to Mrs. Hudson, and your medical
Let's
practice
shake
shows
that
little signs
out of
of
the
picking up.
way.
I must take what fees I can.
How can my practice pick up when I spend half my time chasing all over the country with you?
In any case, Watson,
How does this comfy picture make everybody feel? Does it make everybody feel a little bit comfier? A little bit of comfier. Sometimes goat get tired.
maybe yet another fee in this case, and a much fatter
go get real tired, and he just needs to take a little nap.
Ask you to come with me, old chap, but after your remark about chasing all over the country, I hesitate to waste your time.
Let's see.
You know it, you silly fellow. Of course I'm going with
Yeah.
The game's afoot.
Not a problem. I'm actually about to stop stream myself, so let's see. Let's see. Anybody that I can raid? Shadow Legends.
The scandal will be spread all over London. It's preposterous, Reginald. But I warn you that if you continue in this vein, you will get that threat.
Let's say. Remember to save. Hold up. Remember to save.
He's going to act as a bodyguard, so you'd better not try any tricks. He should be here any moment. How dare you bring a stranger into this mess?
We saved. And now we're going to raid Shadow Legends. Does anybody have any suggestions? That's what I'm feeling right now, is some suggestions. Let's see. Let's see. If nobody has suggestions, I will just send it to a random person. I will send it to a random person that I know. Let's see. I know a few. Let's see. Hold up. I know everybody's excited. No suggestions. Okay. Alright. Well, we got Shabby Shirt, Nita Meep, and Greg. You know what? Greg has the least, so I'll just send it over to Greg. You don't have to stay. You just I would appreciate you guys just say, have a great stream. That's all I ask. What is it? Greg. Yeah, there we go. I think I did it right. Yeah, I did it right. Well, alright, guys. You have an amazing one now, and you know you're incredible now. Stay awesome. Stay positive. I will see you guys next time. And also, Massilative, I will look at that art. Don't you worry. I know you were worried, but don't you worry. I'll look at it, and I'll tell you how I feel. So, you guys have an amazing one. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hit that raid now. Hit the raid. Do it. Do it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there he is. I'll see anybody that stayed in next time. Bye-bye.